Sharon Williams. Hello there. How are you? Sharon Williams jumps in. There's Jacob Hilliard. How are you guys? Sharon and Jacob. Jess B. How are you? Can you three hear me? Harlem, how are you? Simone. Can you all hear me though? Carol, how are you? Troy. Perfect. Good. San Francisco. Johnny Ohm, AG, Patrick Sullivan. Sarah, how are you? Kelly, how are you? Perfect. Thank you, Harlem. Larry, what's going on, my friend? James, Brian, Mons, Eva Fuller, how are you? Stephen, Bob, P, Pups, how are you, dear? SDL, the Gruesome Twosome, what's up? Delirium, how are you, Delirium? So glad that you're with us. Hollow, how are you? Violent Shemp, you crazy wild character. I had an all right birthday. I debated on doing a live, but I was like, I can't. I gotta just chill. 175, Jess Good, how are you? Richard Windsor, Lisa McDonald, how are you? Well, fall is upon us in upstate New York. It is, let me see, it's 44 degrees out in upstate New York now. Thank you, Violent. Thank you. You got to contain it. Brian. Animes, how are you? Send me an email, Jacob. Wesley September, how are you? Be safe, Gruesome Twosome. There's Sully. What's up, Sully? How are you, my friend? Kathy Hayes. Sean McCabe, what's up, brother? Alligator horse, how are you? I hear you, Animes. I've not seen you in a little bit. Alligator horse in a little bit. I'm glad you guys are here with us tonight. That's always nice. Yeah, 44, Hollow. It's I mean, considering last weekend or the weekend before, yeah, we're getting frost tonight too. I brought in my bonsai tree. I was like, I'm bringing in the bonsai tree. Because I usually leave it out all summer. And I got this little nice spot that I put it in and water it 3 times a day. And then once it gets starting to get cold, I'll bring it in at night and put it out during the day. Oh, you got a new grandchild. That's beautiful, Alligator. Beautiful. Anuska, how are you? Jason, what's going on, my friend? 74. Yeah. I will stick to what we have right now because I like this weather. I like it when you can wear a hoodie and some pants and just be comfortable, you know? Yeah, but a bonsai tree is different than a lemon tree. A 45-year-old Chinese elm is a little different than a lemon tree. It's much more fragile. And I got it. Geez, I'm crow. Wow. I got it when it was like 15 years old. Yeah, because I was like 15 or 16 when I got it. Fall is great. I love fall. Mothman, how are you? Speaking of Mothman, is Aramek in here tonight? Annette Perez, how are you? Thank you very much. Trisha Ann, how are you? Annette, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Wiley, what's up, my friend? Aramek! I was just talking about Aramek. No, it's called Harney and Son tea, but it's called autumn cranberry tea. It's like black tea with like cranberry to it. It's fucking smack. I love it. Thank you, Aramek. Appreciate that. Lightseeker, happy birthday to you. So I don't know if anybody saw the title for this live stream, but I put together one hell of a live stream. I'll ask about, can you share a Nephilim experience on the live? Can you talk? I've got some awesome stuff. I got a couple of Nephilim things that I want to share with you guys. I did some deep diving. I got some feral humans, Dogman. I got some amazing Lizzo stories. Jan, how are you? MJ Bates, how are you? So, Pups, I want to thank Pups publicly because I like to thank you guys when you guys. She might be sleeping. Jane might be sleeping. Hang on, let me check. It's still early. It's only 12:01. So, let me check. Hang on one second. Oh my God, Jane's in the hospital. Jane is in the hospital. Jane, please feel better. You are in all of our prayers. We truly miss you. All right, let's keep Jane in our prayers. They thought at one point today they thought she was going to code. So, holy cow. Wow. Jesus. Yeah, we need speaking of that 9.9 the channel, we need 16 subs to hit 100,000. 16 subs to hit 100,000. That's crazy. I hope so, Autistic. I hope so. So, Pups sent me a birthday gift, and I told her exactly what I was going to buy. Aramek! Thank you, brother. I appreciate that love. I told Pups exactly what I was going to buy with this. Oh, there's a new name I haven't seen. Chris Raymond and Red Thirst Warren. So Pups sent me a birthday gift, some birthday money, and I bought this. It is a do-rag, but it's got the Yosemite National Park on it. And so Pups, thank you so much. I appreciate that. Aramek, thank you so much. No, it's a map. It's a map, so it's going to be flat. Yeah, it was really nice. It's the North Face purple label, and like 35% of the cost of the bandana goes back to Yellowstone National Park and stuff like that. So thank you, Pups. Appreciate that. I collect bandanas. I collect I got it in my studio downstairs. I forget who sent it because it's just off the top of my head right now. but it's this awesome Bigfoot one where Bigfoot's walking. It's kind of like this whitish color. It's pretty slick. I like that too. So Pups, thank you for sending the money so I could buy that. I appreciate that. I really do. All right. Yeah, drinking some tea tonight. Some autumn cranberry. Johnny Ohm, you've never seen me like hiking then, because I wear one when I hike or when I go kayaking. There's a picture of me with one on when I go kayaking to keep the hair out of my eyes. All right. So I guess, I don't know. I guess we'll start the night off with this. This is some really interesting thing. This is some information. What's up, Nick Hendricks? Some information that I found on Nephilim and experiences with. So, giant humanoids and other strangeness in the Greek countryside. From the scientific point of view, we can explain the cloud and the noise bang, but there is a gap. The giant human-like footprints, whirlwinds in the specific area are quite common phenomena, and they are of short duration. We cannot exclude the possibility of a whirlwind so powerful as it to be able to lift various heavy objects, creating bangs, but it was a whirlwind passing by, even a short one. It would have eliminated any kind of prints. This is the fact I cannot explain. 61 years ago, in a remote stretch of road in the Arcadia region of Greece, 32-year-old George Psychos found himself driving alone on a desolate country road late one frigid January night. He was driving back to his home village when he encountered something truly terrifying that would forever change his life. As his car traversed the rough road that night in 1964, the headlights suddenly illuminated something bizarre on the side of the road, and as he got closer, George realized what he was looking at, and it made no sense. A giant humanoid being towering on the side of the road, standing still in complete and total darkness. Among the olive groves and tall grass stood an unimaginable being that George estimated to be taller than 5 meters or 16 and a half feet. A giant humanoid is what the news articles printed a few days later. According to the rest of the experience, the giant being stood for a second before crossing the road in one huge step, only to completely dissolve once it crossed to the other side. The story was printed in a book of folklore. A Greek writer and researcher translated it as part of his blog. It was a great possibility that the experience of this giant humanoid came from a local newspaper article that received little to no attention from any major press outlets. We must remember that back in 1964, Greece had just climbed out of the ruins of World War II and its own civil war in the mid-40s. Regions like were swiftly overtaken by invading armies as there was a severe lack of social infrastructure in telecommunications, military, or even public transportation. Villages communicating via radio were living in high-tech life compared to the rest, but by the mid-60s, Greece was starting to grow economically and technically with the rest of the world. So, a story so wild, so unbelievable, like George's, would have more than likely been printed on several Greek newspapers, allowing someone to preserve and compile along with other folklore. However, we'll probably never know if the experience came from an actual police report or if it was just made-up sensationalism to sell newspapers. We then come to a familiar crux that haunts paranormal investigators. It all comes down to how believable the witness is and how solid the evidence is. We don't know for sure if on that dark January night, George came across an almost 20-foot tall humanoid. We don't know. We don't even know if George is a real person, but it does make for a terrifying and fascinating experience, doesn't it? But was it just a story? A story like George's would be faintly remembered over time as just the story, something to add to folklore. However, what if George had, with a small camera, something handy, and he could have whipped out last minute to capture what he had laid his eyes upon? What then? His story would go from folklore to sharing the spotlight to other classics in the paranormal zeitgeist, like the infamous picture of the Brown Lady of Raynham Hill or the Borley Rectory brick photo. George's photograph would probably just be ambiguous and fascinating as the rest of them. The point is, George did not do any of that since he had no camera with him, negating the rest of us that crucial thing this story needs, evidence. However, fast forward 25 years later, and several hundred kilometers to the north, an 11-year-old girl would finally avenge George, so to speak. About 700 kilometers north of where George had seen his experience, where he had his experience as the crow flies, is a village called Chrysopetra, situated in the Kilkis region of northern Greece. It was there on a Thursday morning, June 29th, 1989, 2.5 decades after George claims 63-year-old grandmother was outside her home watering her plants that day when a couple of loud bangs reverberated across her property, loud and strong enough to jolt through the ground, shaking her small and modest home. Assuming that something bad happened, she rushed to her grandchildren who were playing in the front. She ran into 11-year-old Evie and her 10-year-old brother, Constance, crying in terror. "Grandma, I saw an enormous white cloud like a man. I heard a big bang and the man disappeared immediately." The grandmother did not know what to make of the children's claims. However, it was clear that whatever they saw and caused that loud sound was real enough to put both of the grandchildren in a state of panic. She went to inspect the spot where her granddaughter had seen this giant, finding a set of 2 gigantic footprints in the soft sandy road. According to the news article, one of these prints measured 3.6 feet by 1.1 foot, while the other print measured 3.4 by 1.1. The prints both had visible heel, arch, and imprints of what appeared to be 5 distinct toes. The news article stated both prints were in such position that they gave the impression that a giant human or humanoid stood for only a moment, then vanished. The children's father telephoned the local police department about what his children had seen that day. Apparently, the children and grandmother were disturbed enough that the man's only solution was to call the authorities and ask for help. Once the police arrived, they questioned the children to get a detailed account. Evie reported to them that the being was a deformed giant, 8 meters in height, with legs seemingly dissolved. He was apparently made of or enshrouded in some kind of white smoke, wrote Mr. Vambus. In 1998 article, the police arrived and found giant footprints in the front of the home. They tried to protect them by putting bricks around them, but one of the footprints was partially damaged by a passing car. By that time, the local police from Kilkis sent message to the Greek police headquarters in Athens, which, according to Vambos' article, the chief of police in Athens sent order to keep extraterrestrial visit a secret, while also ordering local police in Kilkis to keep guard of the prints until scientists from Aristotle University could come and study them. The university rector sent meteorologist Theodore Karakotas and an assistant to investigate them. Vambos reported that the scientists' main job was to pacify the residents and stop extraterrestrial talk, which coincides with most UFO cases. Isn't that weird that, like, the chief of police, hundreds of miles away, didn't see what the kid saw, but immediately said, "Oh, it's an extraterrestrial," when the little girl said it was clearly a deformed giant-like creature. President of a nearby community, Mr. Costas, was at the scene when he was asked by Mr. Vambos' colleague to comment on the event. He said this: "Surely there was an extraterrestrial who, being in another dimension, apparently entered our world and became visible and left footprints. According to one of the meteorologists, a dust devil could have possibly formed the prints. However, upon further examination, they grew more and more puzzled, abandoning the idea of a dust devil." One of the meteorologists had this to say: "No one, it seems, has been able to explain Evie's account of a giant humanoid and the mysterious footprints left behind, just like no one has been able to explain George's account on that frightful night in 1964. Yet, some writers and researchers still find necessary to preserve these stories so that they do not get lost in time. They'll use their own resources, like time, money, to travel across the country and interview these witnesses, who are your ordinary citizens, who just happen to come across something so wonderful yet terrorizing, and it completely changes their beliefs." One sunny September afternoon, I met with Mr. Vambos in a cafe in Athens. I asked him, "What do you make of all of this? Do you believe these? Like what happened in Christopetra in 89? Shrugging his shoulders before taking a sip, "What can we make of it? I remember I was the only reporter that had translated the story from Greek to English. I didn't go there myself. A colleague of mine went back in 89. I didn't have a car, so I could make the trip up north." He took a sip of his coffee. "And your colleague, what was his impression of interviewing the witnesses and speaking to the local police? Do they find it credible?" You have to remember, back then, in that part of Greece, people were seeing all kinds of strange lights in the sky. Remember the UFO flap in the 50s here in Greece? That's what it was like up there at the time. People in that area had reported UFOs and strangeness days before the incident. His words reminded of John Keel's work in the Mothman Prophecies, where Keel himself went to West Virginia to investigate a rash of paranormal incidents that haunted several small towns and a UFO flap that was prelude to the actual sighting of the winged being. Just like in West Virginia, there was a wave of UFO sightings in the 50s all over Greece, just like the definitely was several reported sightings of lights above the small village of Killikis region in 89. Like in Keel's scenario, all of these reports happening before the sighting of a terrifying humanoid being. The guy himself, he was a reporter, a colleague of mine, and he had access to the area, Mr. Vambos continued. He said that all had witnessed sounded sincere, and they definitely were a set of giant footprints in the road. They had to try to preserve them the best they could, but I think some car ran them over first. They didn't make casts, though. Or they did make casts, though, excuse me. Yeah, I saw the pictures online. I'd be interested to know if the casts are still around, maybe stored in a monastery, long forgotten over the years. No, not likely. They are probably broken, lost in time, A few things stand out from this case, one of them being the similarities to other experiences and strange tracks in the wild that come to an abrupt end. There's the famous Ape Canyon incident in 1924, where prospectors had come under attack by a huge Sasquatch in the high Sierras. The prospectors had reported days prior to the attack they found huge, humongous tracks in the riverbed. After a bit of tracking, they came to a sandbar where the tracks simply stopped, as if this big-toed creature had just plucked into the sky. They described the tracks as being 19 inches long, 4 feet deep, or 4 inches deep in the sand. However, upon inspecting the area, the men noticed that those were the only 2 footprints in the sand, and they were made in the middle of the sandbar, as if whatever had made those prints had taken a huge 160-foot step in the middle of the bank. No human being could have made those tracks. And there's only one way they could be made. Something dropped from the sky and then went back up. The men, under their impression of whatever this large creature made these prints, it simply had appeared and disappeared into thin air. So basically, what this whole what that article is stating is pretty much there are giant creatures. The ones that little girl saw, the scientist believes that it came dimensionally, which makes sense. And I wanted to share that too, because I've often said this about footprints and tracks and stuff. You know, you take a picture, people send you pictures, or we see pictures on the internet where there's like 6 tracks and then they stop. Where'd they go? You know what I mean? Like, there's a gentleman up in Wisconsin who has a barn. He had been working in his barn one night and he saw this weird light. He looks out his window and he sees a Dogman running through his field. All of a sudden, it disappears. He goes out the next day. It was a snowy day, sees the tracks, and doesn't see anything of where they went. So he's like, there must be a portal right here. So they are dimensional. Who did I miss? Julie, how are you? Andy Davis, what's going on, brother? Evan Hawk, how are you? Nicola, how are you, buddy? Sonia, Frank, George, how are you, buddy? Craigers, AG. It's good to see everybody. Tyler, how are you? Danny, what's up, buddy? Nightmare 74, how are you? Sumner, what's going on, brother? Tactful. Hello, Sherry. Norman Comics, how are you? Hercules Misfits, Mad Dog, Jeff Floyd. I'm not sure now. I think we need 16 subs till we hit 100,000. Redbird, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you very much. Jersey guy, how are you? Monkey crap, thank you. Yeah, I cannot. You know, here's the thing. I looked up. I wanted to see like the statistics of 100,000 subs, because honestly, I never thought we'd have 100,000. I was fine with it. You know, I really. I would still continue to do the channel. Like I just love doing the channel. The channel is Mad Dog. Thank you so much. Wow, guys, you guys are awesome tonight. Thank you. The channel means everything to me. You guys mean everything to me. So I would continue to do the channel. When I started, I never thought I'd have 100,000 subs. I just started it because I wanted to do something. And eventually it picked up. So I looked up, and I guess there's 100 million YouTube channels, right? You can Google this. Out of that 100 million, only 550,000 have 100,000 subscribers or more. So it's like 0.5 to 0.6% of YouTube channels that have 100,000 or more, which I was like, oh my God, that really puts this channel in like a whole different kind of realm. And I was like, I never expected it, nor did I aim for it. You know what I mean? It was just something amazing. So, and it's all because of you guys. You don't get money when you get 100,000 subs. You just get a plaque. Hercules, thank you so much. Tiffany Cooper, how are you? Jan, I appreciate that. Jan. Red Bud, thank you. We had a kid named, I'm not going to share his last name, but his name was Matt. And he had red hair, right? big fucking kid. He was a Mason. His mom or his dad was a Mason. His brothers were Masons. He just came from like this really good family, working hard family. But they were all Masons. They just, all through high school, that's all he did. He was like 6 or 7 years older than me, but he sold weed. And his nickname was Red Bud because he had red hair and he sold weed. Tina Marie, thank you so much. Turbo Christ, how are you? Thank you, Craigers. That means a lot to me. Lake 17, how are you? No, you do not get any money when you get 100,000. They don't give you any money. They give you a plaque, and that's cool to me. Samara, how are you? All right, I dug this up, and I thought you guys may like it. Worker under Denver airport missing after unusual find. This is a third-hand account. I was not there. I did not know the person that had this experience, but I did work with his SO who told me this. I have no proof. I've never been to the area, but knowing and working with his SO, significant other, when she told me of this account, she was physically shaken, telling me, my health is changing and I am wanting to get my experiences out there so someone can maybe find use with them. I was told this in 1991. I was a charge nurse at an HIV 50-bed inpatient unit. One of our nurses had moved to the town of Denver, Colorado, and was employed at our facility. Over the time, we became friends and talked about our lives. I could tell she was wanting to tell me something for a long time, but I never pushed her. I let her open up when she was ready. I had no interest in UFOs at all, but working in this facility, we all had spiritual encounters. The building we were in was an old nursing home, so speaking of things we saw there was common with all of the staff. She told me that what happened to her boyfriend in Denver one day, and again over time, she was so disturbed about it. He'd been doing some construction work at the time. This would have been in the late 80s. He was working under where the Denver airport would have been at the time. One night he came home shaken. He told her he had gotten in big trouble at work. He was working in a section which he was not allowed to roam around, but had designated areas he could only be in, and there was security around to make sure no one moved around. That day, security was lax, so he wandered down some hallways, finding other hallways that were huge, wide, and tall. The doors in the hallway were very tall, unusually tall, with high door handles that were difficult to open. One door was slightly open, and he went in. It was a restroom, rows of stalls like any restroom, except the toilets were 6 feet tall, while porcelain like a regular toilet, but massive in size. He could see the top of the toilet. Across from the stalls was a table. He had to get against the opposite wall to see what was on it. There was a large faucets and handles. It was a washing sink. No mirror was on the wall. Security suddenly came in, got him, taking him back to his designated area and lecturing him. He knew he was not allowed to leave his area. That night, he told his girlfriend what had happened, and he was fearful he was in trouble. Who would need to get huge toilets, right? The next day, they both left for work. At night, she came home, and he was not there yet. She never saw him again. His keys, dog, clothing, everything were still in the apartment, but he and his Jeep were never seen. Later, the Jeep would be found abandoned out of town. He was never found. Family never heard. There seemed to be a little investigation on his disappearance. She waited at the apartment for a year, hoping he'd return. No one had heard a word from him. She moved and still never heard a word. Neither did any of his family. She would tell me this story again and again, very upset and scared. She later moved off, and I lost track of her, but never forgot her account and how she got so upset telling me this experience. Years later, I heard rumors of things going on under the Denver airport. Who knows what's going on? And who would use 6-foot-tall toilets? That's a little weird. I don't know. Tanya Harding, how are you? Holy shit, I just realized. Maggie Mayhem, how are you tonight? No kidding, Turbo Christ. Wow, that's crazy. I want to go there. That's a place that I want to go and check out. Is that your new band, Wiley? 6 foot shitters? Larry Lindman, thank you so much. You guys are truly freaking amazing tonight. Wow. Jane is in the hospital right now, Tina Marie. She's in the hospital. She's not doing great. She's doing better than she was earlier. I'm going to call her tomorrow morning and talk to her and make sure she's okay. Great upload on the Hunters, by the way. Thank you, Larry. Thank you. I appreciate that, brother. I appreciate that. And thank you for sending me. I thanked you. I still am looking into that, and it's a little weird. It's been sold. Nightmare 74. Matt. The comic guy that the women simp over. Matt Best. Matt Rife bought it. Which is weird because he had been there with Sam and Colby Brock like a week before me and Isabel went. And before he was doing comedy, he was really before he became famous, he was doing a lot of paranormal investigations into stuff like that, which is cool. I don't know. I know that when I went there, the lady who had bought it from Corey, the big guy with the beard, him and his wife and daughter, she bought it for like $1.5 million. Because it's a money grab, like it's, to me, I don't know how you can sell property like that. It should be a historic site, that's just my own belief. It's there's a battlefield where part of the King Philip's War happened there. There's soldiers buried there. The woods behind it are filled with artifacts and stuff. All right. What time is it? Oh, 38 minutes. We're 38 minutes in. Do you guys want to have an experience? I've done 2 so far, or do you want a lot lizard story? Lot lizard? I believe in ghosts, monkey crap. Why do you think I went to the Conjuring house? Lot lizard or experience? Well, we're going to do both either way. I'm going to do a lot lizard since I did 2 experiences already. Let's see. All right, here we go. This is a this is fiction, nonfiction. Fiction. This is not real. The Harry Hog Hall Inn wasn't just a truck stop. The Harry Hog Hall Inn wasn't just a truck stop. It was a greasy, neon-lit beacon of debauchery and lukewarm coffee, perpetually exhaling the scent of diesel fumes, stale ciggies, and despair. Nestled in a desolate armpit of somewhere USA, it was ruled by a woman as big as a rig and twice as loud, Lizzo. She wasn't just a lot lizard. She was the queen of them. Her domain extending from the chip formica countertop to the furthest, darkest corner of the parking lot where deals were struck and dreams were occasionally shattered. Lizzo was a force of nature, a sequenced supernova among the grit and grime. Her laugh could shatter glass. Her stare could curdle milk. and her heart, though guarded, beat ferociously for one man, Earl. Earl wasn't fancy. He was a trucker, big, gruff, with a beard that could hide a small mammal, and a loyalty as steadfast as his 18-wheeler, the Big Mama. He loved Lizzo with a devotion that transcended her profession, her volume, and her penchant for leaving glitter trails everywhere she went. They were an unlikely yet perfectly balanced empire. The night air hung thick with the usual symphony of idling engines and distant coyote howls, but something was off. A high-pitched, almost manic giggle echoed from the highway, followed by a frantic jingling of a bicycle bell. The sound grew, approaching the hairy hog like a deranged hummingbird on caffeine binge. A hush fell over the truckers, nursing their watery beers. Even Lizzo, mid-story about a aggressive chihuahua and a misplaced wig, paused, her painted eyebrows arched. In the harsh yellow glow of Harry Hogg's entrance, pedaled a figure so utterly out of place it felt like a glitch in the Matrix. It was Pee Wee Herman, or at least a demonic, slightly more sinister version of him. His trademark gray suit seemed to shade too dark. His red bow tie, a splash of arterial spray, and his face, usually a canvas of impish glee, was twisted into a uncanny malice. His eyes, though, were a real horror. Two pinpricks of black that burned with an unsettling, otherworldly hunger. He braked his bike in a theatrical squeal. One polished shoe tapped impatiently on the greasy concrete. "Well, hello, boys and girls," Pee Wee shrieked, his voice like nails on a chalkboard, yet possessing a strange hypnotic quality. "Pee Wee's Playhouse is open for business," and I believe he pivoted, his gaze locking onto Lizzo with a predatory gleam. "I've come to collect certain Earl." Lizzo laughed or boomed, shaking the dust from the ceiling fans. "Earl, honey, you got the wrong stop. My Earl ain't nothing you'd be interested in, you little pixie." She punctuated the last word with a dismissive wave of a manicured hand. Lizzo had seen it all, but this clown demon with his oversized bicycle was a new one. Pee Wee's smile widened, showing a flash of unnervingly sharp teeth. "Oh, but I assure you, Miss Lizzo," he purred, his voice dropped to an uncomfortably low register, "Earl is exactly what I've come for, and perhaps a little something extra for myself." His gaze impossibly dropped lingering. Earl, who had been lazily wiping down his rig's dashboard, now lumbered forward, his formidable frame shadowed Pee Wee. "Now hold on, little fella. Lizzo's mine, and I ain't nobody's extra." Pee Wee clapped his hands together, a sound like dry bones snapped. "Oh, fiddle faddle, you big oaf. You're just a big, boring piece of meat." He then fixed his gaze back onto Lizzo. His eyes twinkled with a dark magic. "But you, my dear, you appreciate true artistry, true magnificence." And then, with a flourish that was both terrifying and a little bit funny, Pee Wee Herman did something that made every trucker in the Hairy Hog Haul-In gasp, choke, or spill their beer. He shifted his weight, and a ripple, a bulge unlike anything natural, began to stretch the fabric of his already too tight pants. It wasn't just large, it was alien. It protruded, a grotesque, mesmerizing column beneath his suit, slowly, almost breathing into an impossible, ungodly length. It felt like an illusion, an optical trick, but the sheer, undeniable density of this was across the room. It pulsed, a dark, veined monument of unholy biology. Lizzo, who had faced down drunkards, brawlers, and the occasional escaped zoo animal, felt her jaw go slack. Her usual fiery retort died in her throat. Her eyes, wide and disbelieving, were fixed on that monstrosity. It was not just 18. It was 18 unnatural, demonically engorged, unadulterated shock. In the air of the truck stop, it grew heavy, charged with a strange fascination. Well, Pee Wee squealed. His voice returned to its normal, irritating pitch, but laced with a new confidence. Don't you agree, my queen? Earl's little peanut pales in comparison to the wonder of the nether regions. A shudder ran through Lizzo. Her mind, usually so sharp and cynical, was clouded by a bizarre, almost hypnotic pull. It was horrifyingly, utterly disgusting, but there was something undeniably primal. A part of her, an ancient, carnal part that revealed the extraordinary, was intrigued. Her gaze flickered from the monstrous appendage to Earl, then back to Earl. His simply hard work and glory suddenly seemed pedestrian, normal, small. Lizzo! Earl stammered, his face a mask of confusion and mounting dread. He unwelcoming curiosity. What the hell is he doing? Pee Wee cackled, a sound that twisted the gut. She's seen the light, Earl. She's seen what real men bring to the table. He took another step towards Lizzo, his bicycle rolling silently behind him, the unholy bulge leading the way. Come on, my queen, ditch this dulliard. You deserve a challenge. You deserve me. Lizzo, still in a daze, actually took a step forward toward Pee Wee. Her hand almost unconsciously reached out. In a terrifying moment of betrayal born of pure, grotesque fascination, Earl watched, his heart sunk into his steel-toed boots. His queen, his Lizzo, was under this demon's spell. Anger, hot righteousness finally broke through his confusion. He wasn't big on complex plans, but he understood one thing. That thing was the problem. With a roar that startled even the hardened truckers, Earl lunged. You ain't taking my woman, you little pervert! Pee Wee, surprisingly agile, dodged, pedaling his bicycle around Earl with unnerving speed. His demonic appendage swinging wildly, almost like a weapon. He laughed, high-pitched, taunting sound. Earl, clumsy in comparison, swung wildly, his fist connecting with nothing but air. Too slow, you lumbering lope! Pee Wee shrieked, weaving through the crowd of truckers, narrowly avoiding a flying burger. Can't catch what you can't see. Earl's eyes remained fixed on this monstrosity. He needed to get past the speed, past the taunts. He needed to neutralize the source of evil. He spotted it, a broken broom handle leaning against the counter. He snatched it, the wood surprisingly heavy in his hand. Pee Wee circled again, growing bolder, even attempting a small seductive dip with his lower half toward Lizzo. That was Earl's chance. With a primal roar, Earl didn't swing for Pee Wee's head. He swung low, aiming for the root of the problem. The sound that followed was a sickening thwack, like a baseball bat hitting a watermelon, followed by a squelching R.I.P. Pee Wee's high-pitched shriek was cut short, replaced by a gurgle of pure, unadulterated agony. The unnatural bulge in his pants detached, flying through the air, sailing over a startled trucker's head and landing with a grotesque wet slap in a bucket of lukewarm relish behind the counter. It twitched, a horrifying slug-like entity, before slowly deflated into an ordinary, if disgustingly large, piece of grizzle. Pee Wee crumbled, his suit suddenly baggy, his face twisted in a look of profound comical loss. He looked down at his now empty crotch, then at the twitching thing in the relish bucket, then back at Earl, his eyes wide with pathetic childlike horror. My playhouse, he whimpered, his voice devoid of the menace. The spell was broken. Lizzo blinked. Her gaze snapped with from the deflated Pee Wee to the gruesome trophy in the relish, then to Earl standing over Pee Wee with the broken broom handle. The fascination evaporated, replaced by a wave of nausea and disgust. What had she been thinking, or rather, what had made her think that way? She looked at Earl, his chest heaving, his face streaked with grease and sweat. his eyes filled with a ferocious love of protection. He was big, he was simple, but he was hers. And he had just fought a demon clown for her, even if said demon clown's primary weapon was his ungodly junk. With a choked sob of relief and renowned devotion, Lizzo latched herself to Earl's arms. "Oh, Earl, my big, beautiful, normal-sized man," she exclaimed, burying her face in his beard. "You saved me from that." She gestured vaguely at what remained of Pee-wee and the relish bucket. Pee-wee, a broken man in more than one way, scrambled onto his bicycle. Wobbling, pitiful, gone was the demonic gleam. He was just a small, sad little man in an ill-fitting suit, pedaling away into the desolate night, leaving behind a trail of, well, it's probably best not to think about what he left behind. The jingling of his bell faded, replaced by a comforting hum of Big Mama. The appreciative cheers of the truckers. Lizzo held Earl tight, her queenly composure restored, her new appreciation for the mundane firmly in place. "Honey," she mumbled, gazing into his eyes, "let's go get some real coffee. And maybe," she added with a wink, "you can show me what makes your peanut so special." Earl grinned, a genuine soulful sound. And the Hairy Hog Haul Inn returned to its usual rhythm, a little weirder and a little more scared, but infinitely more appreciative of the simple, honest, and appropriately sized things in life. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I had a nice birthday. Thank you, Sonia. It was nice. It was very nice. Thank you, Aramek. He did definitely not. I had to think, I was like, I have got to come up with something different. There's got to be a new villain. Like, I'm sitting there, I'm like, they've already fought in the weird, grimy seven dwarves, booty hole touching aliens, fucking the Easter Bunny, and then I thought, Pee-wee Herman. Thank you, Evan. Dogmen have tails, yes. Well, I've been told, Aramek, that Lizzo is actually Thanos' cousin. No, I don't think there'd be a copyright. My birthday was on the 16th. Happy birthday, Davey. Yeah, well, Alligator, I know. It's hard not to. If I didn't, I miss every conversation, actually. Simone. There may have to be a truck stop that Lizzo and Earl go to in Australia. You know, there may be like a portal from like Somewhereville, Arkansas to backwoods Australia. Like this portal. Thank you, Andy Davis. How are you, brother? How you doing tonight? Pee-wee as a creepy waxy chuck. Oh, shit. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Werewolves do not have tails, per Victor. This is per Victor. Also, if you think about it, I talked to Tim Baker about this. Tim has seen Bigfoot. He's seen your atypical Dogman, and he's seen something very similar to what Victor describes as a werewolf. The Beast of Seven Shoots resembles what Victor talks about as a werewolf, a non-transforming creature. It's not a shapeshifter. I don't know. What I saw in 1994, I don't remember if it had a tail or not. I don't think it did. Everything about that thing was so weird, though. Like, it's Anubis look. It was very tall. I'm not sure. All right. A weird creature in the El Salvadorian jungle. This experience was told to me by my uncle and swears that it happened. He was the only one in the family this happened to. No one else could back his experience, so I don't know. In 1979, there was a 12-year-long civil war in El Salvador. My uncle was in the military. He was sent to the woods/jungles with like 6 other guys to go and look for a militia group that was supposedly camped out there. After walking through the jungle for hours, they suddenly felt the ground shake as if something big was coming toward them. He described it like a Jurassic Park. Then the T-Rex was coming toward them. The water rippled. He said they thought it was the enemy doing something, so they hid. He said he was shocked when he saw a giant. He said that it was walking in the distance. I asked him if it was just maybe a really big person, like a Bigfoot or something. He said no. It was more like Jack and the Beanstalk kind of giant. He said there were trees blocking the view somewhat, but that he could make out that it was a real large human. He said that it was tall at the tallest tree. He said he tried to get a good look at it, but was too terrified and didn't want to get out of his hiding area when he realized what it was. He said this creature basically just walked past them, waited there for a while as they were scared to bump into another one. He said 2 of the guys suggested trying to kill it and get rich, but the guy in charge told them to stand down. My uncle said everyone thought they were idiots for suggesting such a thing. He said they'd walk back to base as quietly as possible. They told everyone when they got back. They were friends with pilots, and pilots called bullshit on their experience because they fly over the jungle all the time and would have seen such a creature, especially if it was as tall as trees as they claimed. He said all of the guys described what they saw. One guy claimed it appeared to be bald. Another said he thinks it had some sort of loincloth like Tarzan. My uncle emphasized that he did not get a good look, and that all he knows is that the ground was shaking as if something really large was coming toward them. He saw what appeared as a giant humanoid walking in the distance. He got down and hid and waited for it to go. I began to ask him things like, if it was real, don't you think they would find a body and some bones, especially since El Salvador is so tiny in relation to other parts of the world? He responded along the lines of, I don't know about none of that stuff. I just know what I saw that day. I don't know how I feel about this personally. This one seems a little out there to me. My mom said maybe it was some sort of spiritual spirit that had made itself appear as a giant to scare them during the Civil War times. My mom claims there was a lot of paranormal things going on because of all of the deaths happening. A lot of innocent people were being slaughtered. My grandmother would say, if you looked out the window of your house, you would see dead bodies on the street. That wouldn't explain the ground shaking, though. Anyway, that's my experience. I buy it. I buy it because El Salvador, there's been accounts of giant creatures like the Nephilim in Central America all the time. I probably did I miss a good joke by Aramic? Aramic is always blessing the channel. He is truly an amazing person every week. Like, he does not need to do it. He's awesome. He talked about giants once or twice, Maggie. And I do appreciate it, and he knows that. Tommy, how are you? I believe they are portal. They go into portals. Dimensional, like that, like was said, you know. DL, how are you? DL Hemingway. You're not late. I'm glad that you're here. Well, that's your own belief, monkey crap. You know, there's a lot of people that don't believe in Dogman, and you know, I myself believe in it. Stephen Quayle has written a ton of books about it, so it's kind of hard not to believe it, especially when it comes from someone like Stephen Quayle. Where do they go when they go through the portal? I think an alternate dimension, hell, maybe. Who knows? Probably hell. I don't have any favorite Dogman episodes. I don't do episodes. I just have uploads. I'm not like the other channel. I just do uploads, and I don't have any favorites because I try to learn as much as I can from all of them. If I had a favorite, it would probably be when I look into weird stuff. Southern Charmer, how are you? I don't have one, Andy. I did one last week, I believe, or 2 weeks ago. I don't smoke pot there, Jelly Bean. Are my mods working tonight? I do have a ghost story. I'll find it when I get to it, though. Tommy, it was good seeing you tonight. It was good seeing you. It's a jewel. It's a jewel, Jelly Bean. It's a jewel. $12. We need 12. Let me see what this one is. I believe in ghosts. I just don't have one offhand. So, I mean, I go as I go, Tanya. If you don't like it, I'm no other better words for you. Sorry. I'll eventually come to one. But I can tell you, when I went to the Conjuring house, if I didn't believe in ghosts, I wouldn't have all the equipment that I have. So I probably believe in them more than you do. Why aren't my mods working tonight? I honestly don't know. I absolutely want to make it clear that this is true. My wife and I both witnessed this and will never forget what we saw. I'm a 43-year-old man, former Marine. Well, you're not a former Marine, you're a Marine, with a lot of time at sea, and a former railroader. So I've been to a lot of places that are just hard to get for most folks. I have never seen anything like what I saw last night, and it happened on Highway 50 between Penrose and Pueblo, Colorado. My wife was working a closing shift in Canyon City last night. I left Pueblo to make the drive west as usual. After she clocked out, we went to pick up our son from his job, only to find he was not working. On the drive back from Canyon, you pass Penrose, and then there is a place that is called the Big Hole. The Big Hole is actually called Pierce Gulch. There's a significant drop in elevation, then you immediately climb back out, hence its nickname. As we were approaching the big hole at about 12:40 a.m., something traveling from north to south crossed 4 lines, the medium of Highway 50, at an incredible rate of speed. We were the only vehicle out there at the time, and we nearly hit it. It was roughly 3 feet tall and had long brown hair everywhere. And again, this thing was hauling ass, faster than any animal I had ever seen or heard of. My wife was driving, and our son was on speakerphone. She was startled and looked at me and said, "What the hell is that?" By this time, we were down at the bottom of the gulch and heading back up. We told our son what we had seen, and she got off the call. We discussed it for a second and decided to go back and see if maybe it had gotten caught in the barbed wire fence or something. Maybe there would be some trace of this thing. We were both amazed at how fast it was moving. By 12:45, we had traveled back to the west side of the gulch and turned around. There was not any traffic, so my wife just slowly rolled down to the shoulder of the highway. I had my window down and was shining a flashlight that I had in the car out into the field. There isn't much out there except cactus and stuff. As we came up on the approximate area, we saw this thing. I told my wife, "Hey, look, do you see those eyes?" She said, "Yeah," and stopped the car. 10 yards or so on the other side of the fence was a pair of very bright, very blue eyes, not far off the ground. I was thinking we were probably looking at a coyote or something. It was looking directly back at us. What happened next, I will never forget as long as I live. Whatever eyes belonged to stood up like a man, like 6 to 6.5, 7 feet. They were still looking straight at us. Whatever it was that flew across the road at Mach 2, this was it. This was this hairy thing we had seen. There was a moment of disbelief and shock, and then it registered that we found the thing and it wasn't some animal. The fear kicked in. I told my wife, "Go, go, go." It seemed like slow motion. She floored the gas and the thing watched us leave. We already knew that this thing was incredibly fast, so she drove as fast as she could up and out of the gulch. And I was looking out the back window checking the mirrors. My wife was afraid it might be following us. It was not. And I didn't want to make things worse by admitting that I was worried too. We drove as fast as we could for several minutes talking. But it was like we both were talking to ourselves, like, "Oh my God, what the hell was that? And was it waiting for us?" Soon the lights of Pueblo West were ahead, and we were back into civilization. Once we got into the city, we finally started to relax. We talked until we got home and checked the car for anything. We couldn't really go to sleep for a couple hours. My wife got online and was searching for anything that matched the creature we had seen. She found some experiences, paranormal in nature, of other people witnessing a creature that sounded exactly like we had seen. She has to work the same night shifts, so we hope we never see it again in Canyon City. We are going to try and stop next time we get out that way and see if we can see any evidence, but we only go out that way at night. Anyway, thank you. Thank you, Sonia. Or Simone, thank you. How are you, buddy? Oh. Reminds me of when we played hide and seek with my uncle. Holy shit. That's funny. That is so funny. Oh. Stephanie, how are you? All right. Oh, shit. I got black-eyed kid stories for you guys tonight. I got some good ones, too. Simone is on fire. Thank you, Mod. Thank you, Simone. I was not trying to be a jerk. Jay Cortez, how are you, buddy? Good night, Southern Charmer. Good seeing you. Bankhead National Forest. How are you, Charles? I live in Fargo, North Dakota, and the winters can get pretty brutal. My husband is a long-haul trucker, so I'm home by myself a lot. One Monday morning, I was outside shoveling snow from my front walkway. It was still snowing, but the snowblower was busted, and I wanted to get some of it out of the way. I worked on it for an hour or so, then decided to go inside and get a cup of coffee. I left the shovel on the front porch. After about 15 minutes, I headed toward the front door to go back outside. It's then I noticed that the shovel was missing. I knew I had left it by the door. Then I looked up at our driveway toward the street. It's pretty long, maybe 200 feet. I saw someone shoveling snow by the mailbox. I walked in that direction and saw footprints along the driveway. So I figured this person had my shovel. But why would they be shoveling out by the road? I got within 20 feet or so from this person and yelled, "You have my shovel?" They didn't answer. I could tell that it was a female with long blonde hair. She was dressed in a dark gray jacket and no hat or boots. I yelled again, "What are you doing?" The person looked up. I swear I almost fainted. The face was that of a teenage girl with alabaster white skin, but her eyes were completely black. She stared at me, not saying a word. She dropped the shovel and continued to look at me. Then she said in a very soft voice, "I need you to help me." I stood there dumbfounded, but I kind of felt sorry for her. I picked up the shovel and asked, "What's the trouble?" Again, she looked at me for several seconds, not uttering a word. She then said, "Can I have the shovel?" I said, "You can use it when I'm finished. Is that okay?" Then she said, "Thank you," and turned and walked down the street. I kept an eye on her as she walked past several residents without stopping. Eventually, distance enough that I couldn't see her by the falling snow. MJ Bates, thank you. This black-eyed girl never came back for the shovel, and I still have no idea why she was shoveling the entrance of my driveway. I told my husband about the incident, and he replied, "I have heard talk about these black-eyed people. I didn't know they were here in Fargo." I asked where he had heard about this. He said most of the incidents he heard were from Texas and California, but there were a few in some other states, and other truck drivers had encountered them. He also said he had never. Oh, phew. I don't know if I said hi, Nicola. How are you? Julie, I said hi, I believe. David, how are you? And thank you for becoming a member, my friend. Thank you, John Boy. K-Slay, thank you. I hope so. Let's check. We're still 13 away. You know what? I never thought I'd get there, so I'm good. I'm good either way. You know what I mean? This experience happened on March 10th, 2005. This took a lot of courage because I've been ridiculed so much for what happened to me. My grandfather owned a cabin. I'm not disclosing the location due to the fact that I don't want anything to happen to anyone. Anyway, my grandfather's cabin was his way of getting the family together for the holidays, so he could have a nice Sunday dinner with all of us. One day, all of a sudden, that all stopped abruptly. He wouldn't allow anyone but himself to visit the cabin we all looked forward to going to and cherished for years. I would ask him why he was doing this. He never told me why, but when he passed, he left the place to me. I inherited the cabin of my childhood and was ecstatic about it. It was soon after that I realized why he had did what he did. I would go out and walk in the woods on the game trails, which were everywhere. I know these woods like I know my own home, so I never had any reason to fear them. It was on one of these walks that I encountered what people call Dogman. I was walking just like any other time. Nothing was different. It was back then on an offshoot small trail that went only 6 to 7 feet back. I could see that something had bedded down there. I thought it was a deer. I then walked into that bedded area, soon realized that it was an ambush point for whatever had made this bedded area, and it was massive. My arm hairs stood erect, and a chill literally ran down my spine. I felt as if I was being watched from different vantage points. Since it was a nightmare, I had a tracking flashlight in my sidearm, the latter of which I drew and kept at the ready. I genuinely feared for my life at this point. All of a sudden, an ungodly growl was made to my right, about 15 yards from me. I almost pissed myself. I was so terrified. I didn't immediately run, fearing that whatever it was may take me as a threat. I turned and started heading back to the main trail, and when I was about 5 minutes from my back door of the cabin, this thing let out a howl that I swear felt like it went right through my body. I then proceeded to run. As soon as I did, this thing was chasing me. For every 5 steps I took, this thing took 1. That's how fast this creature was. I heard the sounds of branches being ripped off the trees, and I could have sworn I felt vibrations of it running after me. I barely made it inside the cabin, shutting the door and locking the 2 deadbolts and chain lock. I then turned on my spotlight and shined it into the tree line. There were 3 sets of eyes in that tree line that shined a vivid yellow with enormous black pupils. I felt as if this thing could read my mind, but I'm not sure if it could. All I know is that I am alive and have since heard of them many times, but I don't take night hikes anymore, and I haven't for years since. Well, 50 congressmen or 100 people that don't do dick. Oh, shit. What's up, Mr. Haunted? How are you, my friend? Good to see you. We are graced with a paranormal researcher, Mr. Haunted, Jimmy Petanito. Worked with the Warrens, knew Father Malachi Martin, Thank you, SDL. Thank you. Mr. Haunted. Mr. Haunted put the Warrens on the map, I must say. He's famous in my eyes. No, he did. He worked with Ed and Lorraine. He worked with Father Malachi Martin. He played with the Annabelle doll without oven mitts and didn't die. He's done it all. Mr. Haunted. Crypto works! Thank you, Mr. Haunted. Thank you. Thank you very much. Miss Shelley, how are you? Yeah, well, that's not a conversation we're going to have, but I agree. I agree, Neil. I agree. Mr. Haunted, all three of his books are out. All three of them are out. Our book is coming out very soon. Mr. Haunted's book with me. Halfway done. Well, thank you, David. Thank you. Redbird, thank you so much. I think, you know what we should do, Mr. Haunted? We should put mine in the book, too. Me and Jimmy's writing the book. I'm supplying the stories. I'll send the link tomorrow, brother. I'll send the link tomorrow. It's our book, Monkey Crap. The book that Jim's writing it. I'm supplying the stories. He's doing all the work. He's a working madman. And a phenomenal author. Phenomenal author. All right. Yeah, we'll do this one, and then we'll do this one. All right. I wish I was making this up, and I needed some time to process everything that happened because I was so scared. This was my first experience with something like this, anything paranormal, to be honest with you. I tried giving a date a second chance, and I ended up on a date with a Jamaican reptilian shape-shifting gangster. I met this guy on Bumble. He was very attractive, had similar interests and taste in music, so we decided to meet up at a public place that I chose. He was half an hour late, so I already ordered my food and chose a spot with my back against the wall so I could have an overview of the whole restaurant. Danny, thank you so much. To spot him when he walked in. First thing I noticed is that he was lying about his height, but that happens a lot online dating. He sat across from me and brought me a smoothie. He kept mentioning how it was sour. Is that a flavor shapeshifters like? Question mark. Then we ended up talking for hours, and he started trauma dumping about his past from growing up in the United States in a gang and to dealing drugs, shooting people, going in and out of jail. But I did not judge him. I was open to hearing his experience and gave him space to share. I'm actually glad he felt comfortable. He told me that he had never had a real therapist before, so I understand why he did it. I finished my food, and it felt like the date was wrapping up. I was thinking about possibly joining him at his hotel. Keep in mind, the whole time he was asking for consent for every small detail. He wouldn't invite me over directly. I had to invite myself. It reminded me of vampires who can't enter the house unless they're invited, for example. At some point, I cracked a joke, and when he laughed, his eyes rolled backward, both in different directions. Both pupils turned into snake-like slits and changed color. I thought I was tripping. It happened so fast, but in that moment, I became very alert. Still, I managed to stay calm. I can handle chaotic and stressful situations, so I kept a poker face and carried on with the conversation like it didn't happen. Inside of my head, though, I was observing every detail about his face and staying aware. Then it happened a second time. This time it lasted a little longer, just long enough for me to be sure of what I saw. His eyes changed back to normal, but I had already processed it and it was real. I wrapped up the conversation. George, thank you, brother. Wrapped up the conversation and told him I needed to head home. I ordered an Uber. I had about 5 minutes left, and I felt the urge to talk to him about spirituality because this was definitely supernatural. I asked if he was spiritual or Christian because his arms are full of Christian symbols. First thing he said was he didn't believe in Satan, even though there is so much evil in the world. All his tattoos gave off strange negative energy. Jesus had black eyes and the cross was broken, and he had some gang signs that he explained. That was his tattoos. So his tattoos were strange, negative. Jesus had black eyes, the cross was broken, and he had gang signs. It was a short conversation, and then he said goodbye. The last thing he said, again, was about consent. He told me that if I wanted to see him again, it had to come from me. He kept giving me the choice of every situation, but yeah, I left feeling terrified about what I saw. His gang stories, the violence, none of that scared me as much as his strange snake eyes. Neil, thank you so much. Appreciate you. You know what that reminded me of? Hang on a second. Oh. There we go. Had to do the old nutsy. I did an upload about that the other day, Mike, talking about both of them, how they disappeared. And it wasn't in that national forest. Yeah, their bodies were found. So that experience reminded me of, so when I was younger, I went to Beacon, New York, and I don't know if you guys know this, but you guys probably heard it on Joe Rogan where he talks about Richard Nixon and Jackie Gleason. And Jackie Gleason's house was shaped like a UFO. So I was like 19 and I went down to Beacon, New York because I wanted to see the house. I jumped on a train in Rensselaer and took the train to Poughkeepsie, got off, jumped another train to Newburgh, and then I was there. So I get to the house, I walked to the house, walked back, took some pictures, and then went to a couple other places to hang out. But I'm waiting for my train to go back home, right? And this is the weirdest thing. And I've looked all over for this pamphlet. So I sit down, I'm waiting, and this huge black dude walks up to me. I'm 19, and I'm not intimidated by people. Like, I'm just a person. He sits down and he's like, "Hey, how are you?" And I'm like, "I'm good," And we just start talking like we knew each other. It was so weird. And he has this like brochure. So like a brochure, a paper brochure. And he hands it to me. And he goes, "Have you ever heard of reptilians?" And I'm like, and I was 19. So this is 30 years ago. I'm like, no, what do you mean reptilians? And he's like, Mike Tyson is a reptilian. And I'm like, huh? And he's like, his violence. And like, he starts talking about these reptilian beings, like in our politics and stuff like that. And he gave me this brochure, this pamphlet on these reptilians. And it had like different descriptions of these creatures. And I know I kept it. I can't find it. I think it's at my parents' house in my old bedroom. But if I could ever find that and share it with you guys, it was just such a weird, strange experience how he like just struck up a conversation. I mean, he was very intimidating at first. You know what I mean? Like he was big, like big. But cool, like just regular guy. But he just said, he was like, you need to be careful of certain people as he's like approaching me. You need to be careful of, like, there's reptilians, they're all around us, they are real and stuff. It was really cool. What's up, Conscious? Little Orphan, how are you? And this was 30 years ago. 30 years ago. No, I never did DMT. I did peyote before, though. Aramic's back. All right, this is the one I wanted to share with you guys. This is pretty cool. This is pretty freaking weird. Ian, how are you? Wait, Anna, how are you? Yeah, it was late. It was late 90s. It was like 96. I think it was 96. It was after I had my Dogman experience. So like 96, because I was like super like heavy into researching and learning about stuff. This isn't something I witnessed. I was told this experience by one of the men who allegedly seen it. For context, this guy had run with some questionable crowds and did what jobs he had to do to make money at times, if you get my drift. So he had a lot of stories. I mostly consider this, but there is still enough that makes me wonder. According to him, we'll call him Zed for sake of the experience. He had been finishing up some work down in Louisiana back in the late 90s with his buddy and had a few days to kill, namely to get some fishing and hunting in, albeit out of season. One of the guys they had worked with gave him directions to a spot way back in the swamps and marshes, or bayou as it is more commonly called, that they could do without risking being caught by fish and game. He said one of the best things about that spot was there were, oddly enough, never any alligators out there. Bit of a red flag on that one. Anyway, one fine morning, they set out in their boat up, navigating their way through the swamps. From what he described, this was a section that was close to the Mississippi border, routes used by smugglers to move various products across state line. They finally arrive at a spot after a few hours and some detour, turned off the motor of the boat and started fishing. The trees were just thick enough to prevent you from being seen from overhead, and they were essentially in a huge inlet that was somewhat sheltered from the rest of the bayou and had the start of a solid land along two sides of it. By solid land, that also meant you had to walk across 10 to 15 feet of muck that could suck your boots off before getting to solid land. According to Zed, the day was progressing. The fishing was not going great, but they still had beers, so they weren't inclined to go anywhere. They both noted, as the guy had said, there were no alligators. Normally, you could spot them lurking around or sunning themselves, but they were utterly gone from this spot, as were most of the big fish, it seemed. It was at this point they observed a herd of feral hog emerge from the undergrowth on one side of the lagoon and make their way to the muck that was described before, and commence to starting to roll and root to their hearts were content. Zed and his buddy slowly angled the boat closer, as they had sidearms with them and certainly had no issue of getting wild pork instead of fish if the opportunity was there. The hogs were leery but not afraid, keeping the humans in the line of sight as they frolicked. Zed saw that they had no real way of getting a hog if they shot it, so they just floated along and watched a good opportunity. But instead they saw something else entirely. According to him, that's when they saw the mud start to move. He knew instantly it was not an alligator, as an alligator would be flailing around in the mud trying to reach the hogs. And whatever this thing was, it was covered in mud. The only way he could describe it was something was pushing its way through the muck, like a mostly submerged bulldozer creeping up on the pigs. They watched as it slowly approached the cluster of hog, who had noticed the movement but seemed more curious about what it was than afraid. One of them, the pig that Zed estimated to be 175 pounds, was the furthest out in the muck and made the mistake of attempting to sniff at whatever this thing was. Zed said that quicker than you could react, something lunged out from the thing and attached to the pig's head and face. As the pig thrashed and tried to jump back, letting out the most blood-curdling screeches they had ever heard, the thing was hauled partially out of the muck and came into better view. Zed realized that it was an alligator snapping turtle of proportions he had never heard of. He said he's seen the one they keep at Bass Pro Shops that got big enough that it cracked its tank and had to get a new one. He said that this was like comparing a Chihuahua to a pit bull. It was still partially obscured from the muck and it was covered, but Zed swore its shell had to be the size of the hood of a Volkswagen Beetle. He was an extreme car enthusiast, so he knew his vehicles. His best guess was its weight was well over 600 pounds and was now backing up into the deeper water, dragging the pig down. Zed said that what he could see, the turtle's head was so big that it was able to fit its jaws partially around the pig's skull, and its beak was now essentially acting like a meat hook. Apparently, it was about a 30-second fight to drag the pig into the bayou, but Zed said it was clear the pig never had a chance. This creature dragged it out into the water. The pig made one last desperate attempt to break free, apparently hearing something screaming underwater one last time, definitely unnerving. It was then just went absolutely quiet. According to Zed, he and his buddy sat there for a minute processing what they had seen. And except for the froth at the top of the water and the stirred up mud, there was no sign of anything that had happened. The other hogs had fled as soon as their comrade was attacked. And except for some bugs, it was almost completely silent. They couldn't say why, but Zed said they booked it out of there, that something was off, and it felt wrong to be there. It wasn't like they could go to Fish and Game and describe what they saw, but they did fill in their acquaintance on why there are no alligators in that area. As far as Zed knew, no one else ever seen a colossal creature like this and come forward and talk about it. But Zed said it was so big, it was big enough that it would have definitely caught a person without an issue. It would easily overpower and kill a human. Again, this is his experience, not mine. So definitely a cryptid, because after I found that experience, I looked up, and alligator snapping turtles do not get that big. Like, that's just absolutely monstrous. So it is a cryptid. Old Zed said, fucking Zed. Wiley, good night, buddy. Holy crap, George. Dang. Wow, that's crazy, bro. Good night, Michael. Have a good night. That's weird, Walter. Thanks, Andy Davis. What's up, Anna? How are you? What was that? What was that freaking turtle creature in Godzilla? I forget its name. Turtle creature in Godzilla movies. Camel Boss. Camel Boss. Yeah, buddy. Camel Boss. He fought Godzilla. Gamera was a totally different. Gamera was different than that. Gamera was fuck. What was Gamera? Gamera flew, I believe. Gamera and Godzilla. Yeah, Gamera was Gamera. Right. Holy shit, I forgot all about Gamera. There was Gamera and turtle creature in Godzilla. Gamera, and what was the other one that I just said? Camobas was in Goju or whatever, however you say that word. Kamoebas. Oh, it's one of those like Japanese like off takes. I loved Godzilla like when they went to Monster Island. Remember on Monster Island there was that the little kid, he was getting chased by the thieves. And Godzilla's son, baby Godzilla, was there. And there was another bipedal dinosaur that kind of resembled Godzilla, but he had like red hair on the top of his head. He was fucking awesome. The twin fairies from Mothra. Be careful at Olympic. Please be careful. No, it was hang on. Red-haired monster on Monster Island that baby Godzilla had to fight. Gabara was its name. Someone said Gabara already in this. The smog monster was good. You did? Gabara was my favorite. I loved him. I don't know. No, this was 1960s, 70s outside in. This was real Godzilla, not cheesy Godzilla. Oh! Still 13 away, guys. Still 13 away. Oh. Damn. There we go. That's better. Yeah, I agree, outside in. Best Godzilla is the rubber suit Godzilla. When he walked like this. Fucking great. Whenever Godzilla got beat up when I was a little kid, I used to cry. Let me think. Is BD Mac in here now? I haven't seen BD Mac. Oh, fucking balls are sticky tonight. There we go. That's better. $20 is $20. San Fran. Bye, kitty. There he is. You're welcome, DB Mac. Vertebraker, what's up, my friend? Oh, yeah, I forgot about those Charles Barkley commercials. What time is it? All right, you know what? It's lot lizard time, kids. It's lot lizard time. All right, here we go. I powder them every time before. I hit those suckers with shower to shower beforehand. But I just get so freaking hot in here. What's up, Lonnie? How are ya? Lot lizards are the most dangerous cryptid known to man, John Boy. They carry a toxic venom that will fucking melt even the strongest Trojan. Once again, fiction. The wind howled a lonely tune through the vast rain-slicked parking lot of the last stop Oasis truck stop. Somewhere, deep in the perpetually damp heart of Washington state, diesel fumes hung heavy in the air, mingling with the scent of stale coffee and desperation. This was Lizzo's domain. Lizzo, a woman built like a power transformer, and with a gaze that could wither lesser man's ambitions, was the undisputed lot lizard queen. She ruled her patch of asphalt with an iron fist, a heart of surprising gold for the right price, and a voice that could make a trucker's CB crackle just by clearing her throat. Tonight, she was holding court in the greasy spoon, nursing lukewarm coffee. Her eyes scanned the passing rigs. Her usual disciples, Earl, Butch, and Uncle Chip, sat hunched over their plates of lukewarm chili. Earl, a mountain of a man with a furrowed brow, grumbled about his latest haul. Butch, younger and less scarred by the road, picked nervously at his beard. And Uncle Chip, a kindly old-timer whose eyes held the wisdom of 1,000 forgotten highways, just hummed tunelessly. Suddenly the lights in the diner flickered, a strange, syrupy sweet scent, like cheap cologne mixed with sulfur, wafted in. The truckers looked up uneasy. This was not a power surge. Then a shadow detached itself from the gloom outside, growing impossibly large, impossibly fabulous. It was taller than the biggest rig, built like a brick shithouse, but with a surprisingly delicate sway to its hips. Its skin was molted green and purple, scales glinting like disco balls under a neon sign. Horns, curled and painted with glitter, sprouted from its temples, and its eyes glowed like amethyst, swiveled around a lot with the almost predatory glee. But its most striking feature was its attire, a tiny sequenced crop top that strained to contain its massive chest, paired with skin-tight acid-wash jeans that left absolutely nothing to the imagination, especially regarding a massive bulge between its powerful thighs, and its feet, sparkling platform go-go boots. It let out a booming crackle that rattled the windows. Hello, boys and girls. This is where the magic happens because, honey, I'm looking for a good time in a quality glory hole. Its voice was deep, laced with an undeniable flamboyant zest. Lizzo's coffee cup clattered to the saucer. Her eyes narrowed. Well, bless my cotton socks, sweetheart. This ain't no pride parade. This truck stop. The creature parried, its go-go boots thudded softly into the asphalt. Oh, but it is a parade of robust, strapping men just waiting to be explored. The eyes, a particularly large diesel tank with a hopeful gleam. Is that the special kind of entrance? Earl choked on his chili, Butch whimpered, and Uncle Chip, bless his heart, just looked confused. The troll, clearly demonic, but utterly oblivious to the subtle nuisance of human fear, sasayed toward the diner door. Its enormous form-filling the entrance. Don't be shy, darlings. I've come a long way. My name's Glug, and I'm just a boy standing in front of some boys asking them to let me in. Lizzo stood up, all 6 feet of her formidable presence, radiating pure, unadulterated annoyance. Glug, honey, you need to back it up. We got rules, and glory holes ain't on the menu. Glug pouted dramatically. Oh, a challenge. I love a challenge. But where are the shy ones? And ones who need a little persuasion? The glowing eyes landed on Uncle Chip, who was now nervously trying to hide behind a napkin dispenser. Oh, Silver Fox, I do love a man with a bit of seasoning. Before anyone could react, Gluck's enormous, surprisingly nimble hand shot out, scooping up Uncle Chip like an appealing lollipop. Uncle Chip squawked, dangling in the air. Now, Gluck, you put Uncle Chip down right now in this instant, Lizzo commanded, her voice like grinding gears. Glug ignored her, planting a surprisingly but still terrifying kiss on Uncle Chip's bald head. He's just so sweet. I'm going to show him a good time he'll never forget. With another booming cackle, Glug retreated into the night, Uncle Chip flailing weakly in his grasp. Uncle Chip! Earl roared, finally galvanized into action. He grabbed a frying pan from the stunned cook. Butch was just a puddle of fear under the table. Lizzo, however, was already moving. This wasn't just about a demonic troll. This was about her people. Earl, you coming, or are you going to just fondle that skillet? They burst out of the diner, a sweet sulfur smell ever so strong now. They heard muffled thumping from behind the parked trailer, followed by what sounded suspiciously like Uncle Chip's faint, distressed giggles. Oh, that's not right, Lizzo muttered, picking up the speed. They rounded the trailer to find a sight that would haunt their dreams. Glug, the demonic troll, was attempting to engage with the underside of the trailer, occasionally pausing to nuzzle a rather dazed-looking Uncle Chip. Uncle Chip was now sitting on the ground, looking like he had seen a confusing magic trick, his eyes wide and unfocused. He then let out a small, bewildered sound. Daddy, Uncle Chip whispered, his gaze fixed on Glug's sequence posterior. Then, slowly, 2 fat tears rolled down his cheeks. Daddy, I think I liked it. Earl dropped the frying pan. The clatter was deafening in the suddenly silent lot. Lizzo's face was a mask of grim determination. Uncle Chip crying daddy in the bar. All right, Glug, Lizzo announced, her voice resonating with the power of 1,000 angry mothers. You listen up, you glitter-horned pervert. You can try and find your good time elsewhere, but you don't mess with Uncle Chip. And you definitely don't make him cry daddy to a demon in platform boots. Glug, startled, turned. Oh, look, the queen has arrived. Are you here to join the fun, Big Mama? I've got enough charisma for everyone. It wiggled its eyebrows suggestively. Lizzo pointed a finger. Earl, the big rig. There's a hose. Earl, still processing Uncle Chip's trauma, slowly nodded. The diesel hose. No, you overgrown buffoon, the water hose. The one that's used to clean the trucks. Lizzo snapped. I got an idea how to cool this feller's jets. As Earl fumbled with the industrial strength hose, Lizzo clapped her hands, drawing Glug's attention. Now, Glug, let me tell you something about this truck stop. We're all about hot and heavy, but not with you. You're a cold shower waiting to happen. Glug scoffed. Oh, honey, I am the hot and heavy. I bring the heat. It lunged towards Lizzo, arms spread wide, clearly intending a dramatic, probably bone-crushing embrace. But Lizzo was ready. Just as Glug was about to envelop her, Earl, with a grunt, blasted the demon troll with the full force of the high-pressured water hose. cold Washington State water hit Glug with the power of a fire engine. The troll shrieked, a sound less demonic roar and more of a surprising gasp from someone who had just had a weave ruined. Its sequence dulled, its glitter began to run, and its acid-washed jeans seemed to cling even tighter, revealing every embarrassing dimple. "My luck!" Glug wailed, spinning around under the continuous blast. "It's ruined! My fabulousness! Oh, the humanity! It's murder on the frizz!" Lizzo, seeming its momentary distraction, did not hesitate. She grabbed a discarded tire iron from the ground, swinging it like a battle axe, and slamming Glug's sparkly go-go boots. The boot buckled and Glug tripped, flailing its arms wildly. "Oh, the indignity!" it screeched, falling backward into a puddle. The cold water seemed to sap its energy. Its demonic glow flickered. "This is not a good time, and I still haven't found a glory hole." "You found a lot. You found about as much glory as you're going to get around here, pal," Lizzo retorted, as Earl kept the water jet focused. Glug, soaked and sputtering, finally found its footing. It looked at its ruined outfit, its dissolving glitter, and its unyielding glare of Lizzo and Earl. Then it looked at Uncle Chip, who was now rocking back and forth, murmuring, "Daddy, why'd you leave me?" With a final heartbroken groan, Glug threw his hands up in defeat. "Fine, you win. This truck stop has zero appreciation for true art. And clearly, your idea of daddy issues is far too vanilla for my tastes." It turned, and with a surprisingly swift, soggy stride, it lumbered away into the night, leaving a trail of shimmering, dissolving glitter and the lingering scent of damp cologne and defeat. Lizzo watched it go and turned to Uncle Chip, who was still muttering. "You all right, Chip?" she asked, her voice softer than usual. Uncle Chip looked up, his eyes a little clearer, but still slightly glazed. "I think I need a hug, Lizzo. I think I need a therapist," he then added, a little wistful. "You know, for a demon, Glug had surprisingly soft hands." Earl finally turned the hose off, looking utterly bewildered. "Soft hands? Chip, he was a demon troll looking for a glory hole." Lizzo just sighed, rubbing her temples. "Well, Earl, some things you just can't unsee or unfeel, apparently." She offered Uncle Chip a surprisingly gentle hand. "Come on, old-timer. Let's get some hot coffee in you, and maybe we'll just pretend none of this actually happened." But as Uncle Chip walked back to the diner, he still had a slightly jaunty bounce in his step, and every now and then he'd pat his derriere just for the fun of it. And for many nights after, the truckers at the last stop Oasis could swear they sometimes heard a faint, distant hum, a melody that sounded suspiciously like a show tune carried on the damp Washington wind. And Lizzo, she just kept an industrial-strength water hose permanently hooked up, just in case. Poor Uncle Chip. Ten more. That's a good one, Stephanie. That's a good one. Thank you, Jess B. My 3-year-old son suffered from chronic ear infections last year, which led him to having a high fever. I slept with him on this night because I needed to give him Tylenol throughout the night to keep his fever down and keep him comfortable. I set my alarm to wake me up at around 2:30 a.m. When I woke up, I went into the kitchen to get the Tylenol. I noticed a bright light shining into the apartment from our deck door, which also illuminated part of the woods behind the apartment. When I went over to see what it was, it turned out to be a car with those bright LED lights in the parking lot to the far back right of the apartment. I figured they were dropping someone off. I saw the movement of what resembled a dog walking around near the woods. I started to think that the lady who usually walks her dog, a cute little corgi, in that area purposely faced her car in that direction so she could see where she was walking her dog. As it got closer, I realized that there was nobody out there walking the dog, and there was no dog. I don't know what it was that I saw, but I'll describe it the best way I can. At first, it looked just like a dog, corgi sized, but as it walked closer, it looked like your average house cat. Then it looked like a black bear. Then it looked like a koala. I live in northern New Jersey, farmland with lots of woods. There are no koala here. At this point, my heart is pounding out of my chest and I am scared. The fear I felt was like a primal type of fear that I'd never felt before. I ran to my bedroom to wake up my boyfriend. I shook him awake very roughly. You got to come see this. He was every bit annoyed with me. When we looked outside together, we see this thing getting closer. It now looks like a skunk, white stripe down the center with a perky, fluffy tail. I said, "Oh, it's just a skunk." With a little chuckle, I felt a little bit embarrassed that I had woke him up over a skunk. I also felt relieved. However, I was mistaken. As it walked, it looked as if it was struggling to find a form. I thought it looked like it was falling apart, but also coming back together at the same time. I know this does not make any sense. It's hard to find the words for what we saw. After the skunk formation, it looked like a person crawling on the ground with some type of fur/skin attached to around its leg. Then it changed again and looked like a raccoon, a groundhog, black bear, cat, koala, deer, skunk. The part that stuck out to me the most was that whatever it was seemed to be coming apart or shedding at the same time it was growing. Whoever had their headlights on turned them off as it went deeper into the woods. This happened pretty quick. I'd say it was only a couple of minutes from start to finish. He ended up going back to bed, and I couldn't sleep after, so I grabbed a flashlight and shined it into the woods to see if I could see it again, but it was gone. As I opened the door to see if I could hear anything, I couldn't. It was very quiet. I had a very hard time going back to sleep that night. My boyfriend wasn't scared, but he was confused and stunned. He didn't know what to make of it. I was scared and creeped out. I know if I hadn't woke him up to see it himself, he most likely wouldn't have believed me and chalked it up to me being groggy. Unfortunately, I know what I saw and I'll never forget it. Night 59th. Have a good night. Thank you for popping in. Whew. Oh, you're not going to bed? Okay. I saw someone say night 59th. Oh, Maggie Mayhem's going to bed. Maggie Mayhem, have a good night. Tony Glover, what's up, my friend? Trisha Ann, have a good night. Thank you for hanging out. Tigger is lying down somewhere. Lying down somewhere. He never comes in. Tig never comes in. What's up, Bob M? How are you, buddy? Julie, you tricked me. Thank you, Trisha Ann. Have a good night. You know what's weird is when I'm recording downstairs, so I'll be recording, and like the second I'll go like this, my mic's right here. I'm like, he sees me pull my mic up. I'll be like, greetings and salutations. He comes out of nowhere and stares at me, and then bites my leg. He's just such a dick. But yet, when I do the live stream, he doesn't want to see. He's like, nah. Bob, happy birthday. Oh, fuck. There we go. Got him that time. What's up, Stacy Lockett? Sorry I missed you. Didn't say hi. I apologize. Good night, Stacy. Cats are personalities. Tigger has his like, I don't know. I'll go downstairs and he's on his couch, and I'll come walking around the corner, and he's literally upside down, facing the back side of the couch, with his back legs facing towards me, and then he'll just like roll over and look at me like, "Why'd you bother me?" He's just such a dick. Tigger's afraid of fireworks too. Hates fireworks and thunder. Hates rain. He's such an asshole. Tigger's got his own couch. Yup. All right. I got a feral human experience from the 1950s. Early in January of this year, I accompanied my granddad down to eastern Tennessee to a small rural town where he grew up after Hurricane Helene. My grandfather wanted to see how his childhood home, which was a 20-minute drive east of town, had fared during the devastating weather. While on this trip, however, my granddad shared with me a lot of stories about his childhood, growing up in Appalachia, and a lot of other things. I learned a lot about him that I had simply never knew. One story in particular, however, was genuinely scary, and I had trouble sleeping the night after hearing it. I still occasionally have weird nightmares about it. I will recount that experience now. In February of 1954, a few weeks before my granddad turned 12, his family's little farm had been experiencing some attacks on their animals, mainly chickens. In the weeks before, they had lost 7 to 8 from their flock of 30. They had a small property, an acre or two, in the foothills of the Appalachian Mountains, specifically near a place called Hall Mountain. One night, during a fairly heavy snowstorm, my granddad's family was awoken to sounds of the chickens screaming and flocking around in their coop, some 70 or so yards away from the house. Granddad and his dad, Paul, immediately jumped into their boots and coats, ran outside to confront what they believed to be some coyotes. As they ran outside the back door, my great-granddad with his rifle, my granddad with his pellet gun, both stopped dead in their tracks as what they saw. This is what my granddad describes. The nastiest, most foul-looking human-type creature you could possibly imagine. A light on the barn illuminated the creature, and my granddad said it was almost bare naked, save for what looked like a bear pelt draped around its shoulders, and had a dead chicken in its mouth. Paul snapped out of his shock and fired 2 rounds at this thing. He nicked it once in the upper thigh as it ran across the field, initially on 2 legs, before dropping down to all 4 and disappearing into the woods. Granddad and great-granddad stood there in shock. They made sure the rest of the chickens and the other animals were all right before Granddad was told to go back inside, check on your mother and sister, and go to bed. Apparently, my great-granddad stayed outside for a few hours, pacing back and forth on the porch, waiting for the creature to come back. Granddad said he hardly slept the rest of the night, and when he got up the next morning, he saw his dad in the living room on their phone as he was eating breakfast. His father came into the dining room, whispered something to his wife, sat at the table. When my granddad finished eating breakfast, my great-grandmother left the room, and my great-grandfather cleared his throat and started to say, "I was on the phone with your uncle. He'll be here this afternoon with your cousin. We're going to follow the blood trail that was left behind by that creature we saw last night. It went down into the holler on the mountain." My granddad said he just shook his head quietly and didn't really speak the rest of the morning. By 12:30, himself, his dad, my uncle, and cousin Samuel were walking northeast into the woods, following a bloody trail left behind the previous night. My granddad said it felt like an hour or so must have passed before anyone spoke. Uncle Peter, who was much more of a hunter than my great-granddad, stopped everyone and pointed at something slightly up the trail. The tracks led up to a spot in the snow that just was soaked in blood. My grandfather said it looked like something had just keeled over and died. What really shocked them as they approached it, however, was how it appeared like whatever was laid there had been dragged deeper into the woods. They began following the new trail that had been dragged through the snow and began noticing multiple sets of tracks which were made by bare human feet alongside the drag tracks. It was at this moment when my granddad noticed his father switching the safety of the rifle off. They trekked alongside that trail a little further, a small frozen stream. On the other side of the stream, tucked under a massive cliff overhang, was a cave entrance. My granddad said it was about 20 feet across and maybe 6 feet tall. As it was the tallest, the bloody drag marks and multiple tracks led across into the stream and into the cave. Paul and Peter told the boys to wait behind the rock, and if they didn't shout back that they were okay in 5 minutes, to run back home and call the police. They walked over to the river and stood at this cave entrance before shining the light into it and slowly walking. Granddad said at about 4 minutes passed before they heard my uncle's voice, but that it seemed like an eternity. They saw Uncle Peter come out, and my great-granddad followed. My grandfather said that they were both pale as ghosts. They hardly spoke on the long hike back. Granddad and cousin Samuel began begging Uncle Paul and great-granddad to tell them what they saw. But the two men would not budge. They said they would all talk later. They all returned to the grandfather's house at 3 p.m. afternoon. My uncle and cousin immediately got in their truck and left without saying a word. Granddad and great-granddad walked through the back door into the kitchen where great-grandmother was waiting anxiously. Great-granddad hugged his wife, my great-grandmother, and whispered something to her. She nodded and went into a separate room. He sat down at the desk in the kitchen and motioned for my granddad to bring a chair over. My granddad did so, and what was told to him, apparently verbatim, "Your uncle and I went into that cave, and we saw people. They aren't people like you or me, or anyone we know. They're very different. They live deep in the woods, and do not leave hardly ever. They are almost like animals. I suppose you can call them wild. It seems like they've lived deep in those woods and hollers longer than anyone has ever been here. He saw a person I shot last night. He must have died. His people were giving him a burial, I believe. They saw us and they acknowledged us. They did not seem mad, but I know we are not welcome there. Do not ever go across that creek again. Do you understand me? Everything over there is theirs, and we'll leave it to them." My granddad said that was the only time his father ever spoke of that cave. His father never went back, and neither did he. I know the whole feral people concept is up in the air, and most people don't believe it, which I can completely understand. Honestly, I don't think I did either. But the way my grandfather spoke about it, the sincerity in his voice, the tone, everything made me believe him. Plus, he's never lied to me that I know of. He's always been brutally honest. He truly saw his father fatally shoot a feral human, and his dad and uncle saw a small feral community living into a cave deep in the Appalachian Hills. Dang. Is Neck here? Is Shackleneck in here? Chrissy, how are you? What's up, Jordy? How are you, buddy? I saw someone say Shackleneck. Is Shackleneck in here? Okay, he sent you a text earlier? He sent me a text yesterday. I love hearing from him. He's such a cool guy. If you ever met Shackleneck, he looks like that guy that used to wrestle grizzly bears. The guy with the beard and shit. Big bushy beard, big broad shoulders, but sweetest dude ever. Just such a nice guy. What's up, Do Something Diff? How are you, buddy? Grizzly Adams. Thank you, SD. $10 more. We need 10 subs till we hit it, guys. Oh. Aramek! Have a good night, brother. Thank you for popping in. Thank you for always being here, Aramek. I appreciate you. Grizzly Adams. He looks just like Grizzly Adams. He's just this big dude. Like when I first met him, I'll tell you the story. Live stream. We're doing the live stream, and I'm talking about the Bigfoot festival up here. And he emails me. He said, "Jeff, I'm coming to your neck of the woods from Illinois." I'm like, wow, this guy's crazy. He goes, "I'm coming down to see you." He's like, "I love you." And I'm like, okay. And he does. I'm like, dude, stay at this hotel called the Queensberry. It's right down the road from my house. I said, it's got 2 beautiful restaurants in there. Rooms are nice. I said, I'll come over and have dinner with you and meet up with you, and we'll go to the Bigfoot Fest the next day. Then he texts me when he gets here. He's like, I'm here. And so I go over, and he's just big dude. Like, shoulders are like this big. He used to be a steel worker, big beard. And he's like, "What's up, buddy?" And he fucking big hug. I'm like, holy shit. I'm like, okay. And we go into the restaurant. I have an espresso and a coffee, and just super nice. His wife, Teresa, beautiful woman, like just amazing person. They had a buddy with him, bunch of gifts and shit. It was crazy. He's just such a nice guy. It's shit. I think it might have passed, actually. Whitehall Bigfoot Fest 2025. It's next Saturday. No, he's not here tonight. What's up, Neutrino? How are you? He's probably listening. He listens. Always listening. I love him. He's great. Black-eyed kids experience. Here we come. Black-eyed kids and Sonny the wandering gypsy. Jeremiah was a bullfrog. What's up, guys? How are you, Jeremiah? All right, black-eyed kids. Once, when I was around 12, I experienced a situation where two odd-looking kids who seemed out of place in time and appearance appeared before me while I was shooting basketball free throws in a cul-de-sac at my childhood home. Sounds weird, but I swear this memory has stuck with me for 20 years. I was practicing my free throws on a mild autumn day. I remember it was cloudy, not quite dusk. I shot the ball, and it bounced hard off the rim and rolled past me. I chased after it as it came to a stop next to some trash cans near the end of my neighbor's driveway. There was no one else outside with me when I ran over to the ball. I bent over, picked up the ball, and when I stood up, there were two kids standing about 3 feet away from me. They appeared as a boy and a girl, the girl being around my age, the boy probably 5 or 6. They had pale, faintly olive skin tone. Both had pitch black hair and dark eyes. If I had to guess their race, I'd say Native American based on their facial features, but their skin tone did not make sense. I do not recall their eyes being fully black, but I remember that their irises were very, very black and their expressions lacked an emotion. When I think back on it, they almost had a synthetic quality based on how perfect their appearance was. Their apparel was very strange. They looked to be wearing very formal church clothing, is how I always described it, except that it looked like it was from a different era. This event took place back in 2003. These kids looked like they were from the early 1900s. The girl wore braids, one going down to each shoulder, almost kind of like Wednesday Adams. I remember that she wore a dress that had overall-style straps. The boy was probably a foot shorter than her, and he had slicked, comb-over style haircut, jet black hair. He wore a very nice but dated-looking formal attire that was gray in color. When I stood up and saw them, I locked eyes with the girl, then glanced down at the boy and then back at the girl. To even comprehend that they were standing there. And I timidly uttered, "Hello." They said nothing, and we stood there staring at each other for another second, and then I felt this feeling pour through my body, like cold dread. Immediately invoked my fight or flight, and I chose flight. I ran across the cul-de-sac, up my driveway, and into the house, shouting to my mom to come and look at these weird kids. She came outside with me, and the kids were gone. I ran to the end of the cul-de-sac and looked both ways and saw no one. We lived in that house since I was 4, and this was back when people were quite social with their neighbors, so we knew everyone in our circle. These kids were not family members of anyone, did not even look like they could have distant relatives of anyone we knew here. They seemed completely out of place. My whole life, I chalked it up to something paranormal, like ghosts, or hopefully not something worse. Anytime I tell anyone about it, I get chills, a feeling of dread. I didn't learn about black-eyed kid phenomena until I was 22, when I was chilling out with some friends and came across something on the internet talking about urban legends. There's an entry about black-eyed kids. So I read about black-eyed kids for the first time that night. The descriptions people give immediately brought back my memories of the time in that cul-de-sac when I was 12. I immediately felt a pang of fear in my stomach. My experience is different than any other experience in that the two kids did not speak to me. However, that feeling they gave me after I spoke to them was haunting, big time uncanny valley vibes, and I am not convinced they were just two random, eccentrically dressed kids who were there the whole time and I never noticed. Ugh. Enormous, how are you? Well, there was nothing. There was no insect qualities about them, SDL. Missed you, Jeremiah. I think reptilian, maybe. I believe that black-eyed kids are probably. Thank you, Jeremiah. Black-eyed kids, I believe, are demonic. I think. What's up, Mr. JH? Does this channel help? What does that mean? I don't understand what that means. I don't know where they come from, George. Honestly, I don't know. Let's see. Still 10. Still 10. I'm glad that you're here, Mr. J. I think they come from like dimensions. My whole view of that, like, I don't believe 10 subscribers. I need 10 subscribers until I hit 100,000. I don't believe like the whole hell concept of it being like what we were taught as children at school, or like, you know, if you went to church school when you were little. Since researching all this stuff and reading a lot of different books, I think there are different planes of hell in these portals that open up. And like the Draco, the alien Draco, I think are demons. So I think these black-eyed kids come from a totally different plane of hell, that they are demonic. They are demonic, but just different than the reptilian demonic creatures. You know what I mean? I don't know. You know what, SDL? If they remind you of insects, that's on you, brother. I mean, I agree. Everyone has their own theory. I can see where you could get an insect-like look from them, I guess. Andy Davis, have a good night, my friend. Be good and don't let your meat loaf. Yeah, I don't think we're going to get it tonight. Holy shit! Sorry. We need 6. We need 6. Dude, I never thought this is going to happen. Holy shit. We're single digits now. Oh my God. Wow. 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 That is just, wow. Wow. I can't believe we were that close. Holy shit. Oh. All right, this one is interesting. It's a combination of different experiences and different sightings of it was not human. 7 shocking humanoid encounters. The Loveland humanoids, around 3:30 a.m., restaurant worker Robert Honeycutt was driving along the Madeira Loveland Pike just south of Loveland, Ohio, when he saw 3 very unusual looking figures who looked like they were praying or kneeling alongside the road. Curious and puzzled, he stopped his car and took a closer look. To his shock, he realized that they were not bald heads, frog-like gray faces, misshapen bodies, and were wearing gray jumpsuits. One held a rod that was emitting blue sparks. He got out of the car and got a closer look. and all three humanoids turned to look at him and stepped closer. The next thing Robert knew, he was back in his car racing toward the Loveland police station to report the encounter. It turned out that other people in the area were also seeing UFOs, and soon there would be several other reports of strange humanoid creatures. Something horrible was out there. On the evening of November 13th, 1967, Philip Freeman and his friend Angela Carter were driving to their homes in Woking, Surrey, England. They stopped the car on an isolated country road to dry the windshield, and both immediately smelled a sickening odor. Returning to the car, Philip saw a short humanoid with no visible facial features apparently looking into the car. As they raced away in fear, he saw that it was about 4 feet height with a dark, squat body. 1 year later, near that same area, another couple had a similar encounter when they saw a short, shadowy black form approaching their car, going to the area later. They also smelled a horrible stench. Both before and after encounters, many people were reporting different types of UFOs. And in 1973, a young boy had a dramatic encounter with humanoids and a landed craft outside of his home. It was glued to the ground. On the evening of July 22nd, 1968, Nurse Adela was puzzled by an unusual silence of the patients at the Pereira Psychiatric Hospital in Mendoza, Argentina, where she worked. Usually there were fights and people were walking around, but not this night. Things then became a little more unusual when she heard a deafening buzzing noise coming from the hospital courtyard. Running outside to investigate, she found herself paralyzed by an intense beam of red light coming from some sort of craft that had landed on the courtyard. After the beam retracted, and Adela could now see a large silver metallic saucer-shaped craft with a dome and colored lights rising up from the ground. Through the portholes on the dome, she was amused to see several humanoid figures moving around. The craft darted off. She screamed for help and collapsed. Other nurses came running, and Adela was taken to the doctor to be examined. She suffered from burns on her hands and face, and her hat was also burned. She also tested positive for exposure to radiation. An examination of the landing site also showed radiation and an unusual mark on the ground. The plants nearby had been badly burned. Later, it was learned that other people in the area saw what was apparently the same UFO. On that year, Argentina was experiencing a massive UFO flap, with several other cases of sightings, landings, and humanoids. ETs in the electrical station. It was July 23rd, 1968, as a night watchman, Delda de Oliveira, patrolled the grounds in Brazil's Central Electric Power Station. He had only been working there 2 weeks and was still learning the property. So when he saw two men apparently trespassing at one of the electrical shacks at 1 a.m. in the evening, he knew he had to take quick action. He was unarmed, so he grabbed a metal rod and rushed one of the men and swung the rod at him. The man easily dodged the attack, and to his shock, the man did not look normal. He was grunting strangely instead of talking, and he wore a dark jumpsuit with an opaque helmet, blocking its facial features. Suddenly, there was a second figure, and both men ganged up on him, but he was strong and fended them off until a third figure appeared. This man wore a light-colored jumpsuit and an unusual thick, coarse red hair, fair skin. With 3 against 1, he found himself overcome, and the three figures forced him to the ground and subdued him. He heard them speaking in a strange foreign language. Then the red-haired man lifted him up, patted his back in a friendly way, and said they were leaving now. He ran to get help and looked back, saw the three strange men climbing into a large metallic craft, which emitted a loud buzzing sound and took off upwards, zigzagging, narrowly missing the electrical transformers as it darted off. Police were called, and soon military showed up and conducted a thorough investigation, the results of which were trying to communicate telepathically with him. Overcome with fear, he ran into his home and told his mom that he had just seen a ghost. Later that evening, they took a drive and had a close encounter with a UFO hovering above them. A few years later, the witness had another close-up, but it would take many years for him to understand what had happened. The creature was not human. On the evening of November 8th, 1986, Sarah, age 20, stood on her back patio of her parents' home in Clovis, California, and stared at a strange blue light on the edge of their 200-acre property. There was nothing out there, and wondering what the lights could be, she vowed to check the next morning. But when the morning came, she forgot all about it. But that night, she saw the lights again and promised herself she would definitely investigate the next day. On the morning of November 10th, 1986, she brought the golden retriever dog and a rifle she used for rabbit hunting, and 10-minute long hike up the spot where she saw the lights. Arriving there, she suddenly felt an overwhelming fear sweep over her. She realized her loyal dog was now missing and turned around. She saw what she first thought was a little boy with a big head. Looking closer, she saw it was actually bald, big-headed, alien-looking figure with dark black eyes, small nose, mouth, wearing skin-tight black suit. It raised its hand and waved. Delirium! Holy shit! Thank you so much! Thank you. Did I hit it? Did we hit it? Oh my God, did we hit it? We hit it! We hit it. We hit it. Holy shit. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Holy shit. We fucking hit it, guys. We hit it. Wow. Wow. Delirium, thank you. Wow. I don't know what else to say, but wow. I'm glad it happened. I'm glad it happened on this live stream. Holy shit. I don't know what else to say. I have like, this is the biggest thing that's ever happened to me besides my kids. 5 rings. What's up, brother? This is truly, oh my God. I'm doing amazing, Stacy Face. Holy shit, we did it, guys. We did it. I can't stop staring at it. Holy shit. Do you know how, wow. Thank you so much, guys. Like, you guys make this fucking, I have 100,004. 100,004. Holy shit. I don't need to prove it. You can look at my channel. It says 100,000 on it. Prove it. Wow. Wow. That is amazing. Oh, man. I'm going to finish this now. An alien beside my bed. Natalie is both anonymous with her name and specific location, but reports that on August 25th, 2022, she woke up in her bedroom of North Carolina home, turned over and saw a shadowy humanoid figure with a large head standing next to her bed, reaching out and touching her knee. Staring at it, she realized that it was an alien. It sent her a telepathic message to have no fear and promptly disappeared. Natalie was stunned and became even more shocked when she realized over the next few days that her chronic insomnia, which she had suffered her whole life, was now gone. She had been cured. Then later she began to wake up in the morning with her clothes on backwards and weird marks on her body, and a possible implant in her mouth. She ultimately concluded that she was being taken by aliens. This seemed confirmed with later another encounter with a tall, skinny humanoid in the bedroom. Wow. Guys, we did it. We did it. Holy shit. One more. 100,005. Holy shit. We did it. Wow. Thank you, Pinch. Guys, I want to thank you all. I really want to thank you guys all. This is as much me and you guys too, because I would never be able to do it without you guys and your support. I mean, fuck. And Shackleneck, we did it. He just texted me. We did it. We knew you were listening. Shackleneck says hi to everybody. Wow. I cannot believe it, guys. This is the best live stream. This is the best live stream right here. Can you imagine that 59th? I don't see the channel getting past. They did beat the Giants too. I don't see the channel getting past 100 and something thousand, but you know what? We fucking did it. We did it, guys. Wow. This is literally my biggest thing that's ever happened to me since my kids. How about I found a Nephilim story, and this is a Nephilim story right now to celebrate. I cannot believe I got to look at it again. Oh my God. Yes. Man, I remember when I started this channel. I remember when I started it. You said it would get to 1,000. Remember that? I do. Jesus. I remember when I had, and I was so happy. I remember when I hit 100. All right. A flamed-haired giant interrupted observing the sunset in the Sierras. We are followed home by light balls. I've been wanting to share this for a while, but because of neurodivergence, I have issues of articulating things that are not logical. I fail at emotional and illogical, so please be kind while I'm trying my best. Last October, my boyfriend took me to a lookout point in the Sierra Mountains on the Northern California side. We travel a lot to places. Shasta and this lookout point is our favorite places to get away from the noise, air, people, pollution. A lot of tourists stop through for the sunsets and hiking, and Chinese college students, NASA hopefuls, often fly their drones. No one but fiance and I ever stay past sunset. We love being there at night when you can smell the sweet, earthy breeze. He will bust out our camping grill and start chefing while we drink and cook some hot dogs. We have had a lot of paranormal experiences at this location. Small things mostly. Nothing like this day, however. I have seen Bigfoot, other creatures, other cryptids, creatures like Loch Ness and other cryptid myths being really stupid. Wait, I've always seen Bigfoot, giants, Loch Ness, and other cryptid myths as being stupid. I wholeheartedly believe in aliens, as I had a lot of childhood encounters with my dad. Early October 2022, I wanted to see the full moon, didn't expect to be proposed to during the sunset. Didn't expect for us to be the only people there on that day. Tad unusual. I got out of the car to help signal my fiance to park when I impatiently looked toward the path that leads to the lookout point. I wanted to see the sunset, and we made it a little later than I had liked. Fiance was getting frustrated, assuming I had a squirrel moment and got distracted. I was really trying to make sense of what the hell I was seeing. There are two paths when you drive in. There is a small circular parking lot with 2 outhouses that are a foot off the main path that branches out into another path. The right path is a steep incline that leads high into the lookout point that is concreted with stone ledge so that you won't drop 15 feet into clusters of stone. The left path follows a decline down the mountain where there are a couple of picnic tables that are surrounded by trees and many large to climb down even further. You can see for miles. I saw what looked like an abnormally large human standing in front of the lookout point. Their back was to me. 2 things struck me: the red, gold, orange hair. He had a massive head of flame-colored hair. The second thing is where he was standing, outside the stone ledge of the lookout point, which wasn't very possible for me. I saw his shoulders, the back of his head, well above the 15-foot mark, so I couldn't understand what I was seeing. I was seriously looking at a red-haired giant, just casually watching the sunset. Even giants enjoy simple pleasures, I guess. Stephen was yelling at me, so I remember thinking maybe it's a tree and the sunset is hitting the autumn leaves just right to make it dramatic. We grab our things and start trekking toward the point. I was telling him what I had distracted me, but as we started on the path, I noticed the lack of the tree or the giant. You would think the giant walking around would produce sound. I felt silly. Let it go. As we watched the sunset, my boyfriend proposed to me, and I said yes. I forgot about it when I glimpsed that bright, fiery hair. We grabbed our machetes and headed back to the dogs. Stephen seen what I did, but where this person was not an easy place to go. If Stephen and I wanted to get there by foot, it would take us about a half an hour of climbing down rocks, walking across the rocky terrain, and even then, we could not get up the mountain. No way, unless by airlift. I think we'd watch it go down inside an archway. I think we watched it go inside of an arch stone doorway that's disguised as part of the mountain. How the hell did it get there? You couldn't climb that. It was jagged and went straight up. Stephen believes it was a Bigfoot, but I had to remind him that Bigfoot are covered in fur. This was a giant man with long, flaming red hair. This thing was a giant. What stuck around for a couple hours, we went home, maybe at 1 a.m. and straight to bed. The part is extra hard to articulate. I wish I could extract memories into a video so that I could show this to those who may teach me how it's impossible for light to act this way. More than a few contradictions like slow and fast. When you turn on a light, it just lights instantly. This was like a spreading, crawling, or painting of light. I can't describe it any better. Like it was quick but slow enough for me to watch the light spread. When it hit the ceiling crease, it seemed to spread slower down the third of the wall before instantly distracting. So unreal. So as far as I know, light does not work like how I witnessed it that night. I was lying awake, reliving the evening, mostly the proposal. I was cheesing, looking up at the ceiling, listening to YouTube. My side of the bed is against the wall, so the crease of the ceiling was where my gaze was at, and the room just seemed to fill up with white light. I remember how it spread over the crease and can't articulate. It freaked me out because as soon as it painted in, it distracted just as quickly. I sat up and looked around. In front of my computer, which is against the wall in the very middle of the room, I saw a electrical energy ball or something right smack in front of it, just hovering. My boyfriend lifted his eye mask up and asked what I was doing, but the orb thing brought the room another flash of white light and disappeared. I bet you saw that one, huh? Was my response, and he did. He didn't see the orb. I told him about the orb and that there was a flash before that. He thinks he saw the first flash, but assumed that it was the YouTube video I had on. I joke now that saying I think the orb watched YouTube. I think it was just in the middle of a light evening. The light was bright, but it didn't seem to hurt our eyes, so it was confusing. I wish to mention that this experience set me on a path of obsession with star seeds, angels, synchronicities, and other things I never would have been entertained with. I was a science geek atheist who is now questioning everything. My life has been extra shiftier since, such as my fiance currently is in prison till 2025. I never had a family. Dad couldn't stand my autism, even though I have his stims and it's hereditary. Pretty much alone my entire life, except for my by his family. We made an oath never to abandon each other. I feel like something from that night forced me into a brutal spiritual awakening where I am made to be alone during this journey. We both believe that night set us on a weird trajectory. So I think what happened was this girl, they saw this giant. They went to the Sierras. I got to check this again and make sure this is real. Oh my God, it is real. 100,006. So I think what happened was she saw this giant, not Nephilim, but a relation, the Raphim or the Anakim, and the spiritual awakening began. So pretty crazy. Brian Palmer, thank you so much. Welcome to the members. Thank you, Lauren. Thank you so much. Guys, I cannot believe it. We did it. Delirium. Me and Mr. Haunted got it planned out. We've got it planned out. We've got the meet and greet planned. My dad wanted me to call him. My dad's like, you need to call me. Yeah, I did. I said that. I read Shackleneck's experience. You must have missed it, Sonia. He's lurking. Thank you, Neutrino. I know we need to get Tigger. Shake him a little bit. Thank you, Jenny. Oh, no, he sent me one too, Sonia. I read his too. I don't know if you heard me say it. Tia, I think that's how you pronounce your name. Thank you. Thank you so much. If I pronounced your name correctly, give me a thumbs up. If I didn't, how about a middle finger emoji? I cannot believe we did it. Holy shit, man. I just can't stop looking at it. Wow. You know what? It's time. I think it's time for a lot lizard story. How about that? What a night, Sonia, huh? And I honestly couldn't have planned it. I couldn't have planned it better. I got to spend it with you guys. Thank you, SDL. Thank you, John Boy. I appreciate that. Sonia. Thanks, Shad. I am glowing. Oh, man. Oh. I am so fucking happy. Wow. I want to go run in my daughter's room and do like the Macho Man flying elbow. Be like, Dad, get the fuck off me. Yeah, I need a shot of Coca-Cola right now, huh? Delirium, thank you for everything. Appreciate the love. I do it. Do it. Five Rig says she would be so mad at me. I'll do the snooka fucking fly. She'd be like, Dad, what the fuck? Tia, this live stream or the live stream chat is probably the best part of the live stream, to be honest with you. That and the lot lizard stories that I write every week for you guys. I'm just glad that everyone's here. All right, here we go. The air around Butte Muffin Truck Stop always hung thick with the smell of diesel, stale coffee, and unspoken regret. But lately, there was a new, more unsettling aroma, a faint, metallic tang, like old pennies mixed with something sulfurous. That was the calling card of Kevin, the demonic trucker from the deepest pits of hell, and he was bad for business. Kevin was not your average road-weary hauler. His 18-wheeler, a beat-up Peterbilt named Prober, looked like it had been custom forged in a lava lamp. Its chrome gleamed with an unnatural, sickly green sheen. The exhaust pipes occasionally belched tiny, perfectly formed skull-shaped clouds. Kevin himself, a vision of infernal grime, eyes like cooling coals, a beard that looked like a singed rebar, and a smile that seemed to show too many teeth, all of them slightly pointed. He wore a greasy trucker hat that said, "Kiss my ass, fault." Kevin's modus operandi was simple, yet terrifyingly effective. He'd park the Prober next to some unsuspecting rig, usually belonging to a lonely-looking driver just trying to get some shut-eye. He'd offer them a shortcut of salvation or a special kind of hospitality. Most truckers, half asleep and desperate for any human connection, would follow him to his cab only to find themselves strapped up to a surprisingly comfortable yet ominously sterile examination table. "Just a little preparatory work," Kevin would growl, his voice like gravel being dragged across the tombstone as he produced an impossibly long, glowing implement. "Gotta make sure you're properly acceptable for my friends." He was known for his remarkably thorough, deep personal probing, a warm-up act, he called it, before his true clients arrived. Many a trucker had woken up dazed, sore, with a distinct feeling of having had their most private chambers thoroughly redecorated just in time for the Prober to meet its rendezvous point. His friends, it turned out, were a group of curious, multi-limbed aliens from the planet Glutinous 7. Their currency was human orifice, specifically the posterior variety. Kevin would deliver his cargo of bewildered, recently Kevin-probed truckers who would then be whisked away into a shimmering interior for what could only be described as a celestial colonoscopy. Kevin got a cut of the galactic credits, and it was a symbiotic relationship built on existential dread and the shared love of unauthorized internal inspections. Kevin was on a roll, racking up frequent flyer miles for his otherworldly clientele, when the Prober rumbled into the legendary territory of the Butte Muffin Truck Stop. This wasn't just any truck stop. This was the domain of Lizzo, the undisputed, unchallenged lot lizard truck stop prostitute queen. Lizzo, a force of nature. She didn't walk, she strutted, a shimmering, sequenced, neon pink supernova against the drab asphalt. Her hair, a gravity-defying of electric blue dreadlocks, seemed to pulse with her own power. Her laugh was a full, throttle-bodied cackle that could shatter a windshield, and her eyes, framed by glitter that revealed a supernova, missed absolutely nothing. She ran her empire with an iron fist wrapped in a velvet glove, and everyone from the greasy mechanics to the shifty-eyed moonshiners knew better to cross her. Kevin, full of himself, after a particularly successful drop-off, spotted a lonely-looking rig, and more importantly, a shimmering figure of powerful aura of opportunity. He grinned, a truly horrifying sight. This one, he thought, looked like a challenge, a prime candidate for the Glutinous 7 special. He slided up to Lizzo, trying his most charming demonic leer. "Hey there, sugar," he rumbled, trying to keep the sulfurous fumes from his breath to a minimum. "Looks like you could use a ride. I got a real special rig, takes you to places you ain't never been before. Even got a little personal service for the right kind of lady." He winked, a slow, malevolent blink. Lizzo turned slowly, her hips swaying like tectonic plates. She took in Kevin's glowing eyes, his pointed teeth and faint smell of brimstone, the ominous gleam of the prober. She had seen a lot in her years at the Butte Muffin, but a demonic trucker offering personal service, that probably involved sentinel tentacle probes, was a new one. She put her hands on her hips, her fingernails, each a miniature mosaic of rhinestones, gleamed under the sodium lamps. "Well, bless your little black heart, honey," she purred, her voice like a warm honey mixed with razor blades. "You think you're going to abduct me, Lizzo, the queen of Butte Muffin?" She let out a laugh that reverberated across the parking lot, making a few pigeons take panicked flight. Kevin's smile faltered. He never encountered such resistance. He tried to project fear, to tap his internal power. But Lizzo, she just looked at him with an expression of amused pity. "See, Kevin," Lizzo continued, stepping closer, her massive chest adorned with a necklace that spelled out boss in solid gold. "I've been probing things my whole life. I've been probing deadbeat dads for child support, probing crooked cops for payoffs, probing rusty old engines for their last sputter. And don't even get me started on kind of deep dives I've been done into against a lonely trucker at 3 a.m. She leaned in, her voice dropped to a stage whisper that somehow vibrated through Kevin's very essence. "You think you got a special probe, darling? I got a probe that can find your mama's deepest regrets in a 6-foot grave." Kevin actually took a step back. His demonic glow flickered. "And as for your little alien friends," Lizzo scoffed, waving a dismissive hand, "please, I got clients whose realms are stranger than anything at Glutinous 7 could dream up. I got men who think booty hole probe is foreplay. You're bringing me amateur hour, Kevin." She then did something truly terrifying. She raised a perfectly manicured finger, its tip glowing with the inner light that seemed to outshine his own infernal gleam. "Now, Kevin," she said, her voice hardening, "this here's my truck stop, and I run a clean, honest business. And by clean, I mean nobody gets abducted, probed, or traded to space perverts on my watch." With a flick of her wrist, a shimmering rainbow-colored force field, smelling faintly of jasmine and confidence, sprang up around the prober. Kevin, confused and genuinely intimidated, found himself unable to move. You, Lizzo declared, pointing a finger, "are banned from this truck stop, from this highway, and if I had my way, from this dimension." She leaned again, her voice a low rumble. "And if I ever catch you even thinking about bringing your nasty little glow stick near my truckers again, I will personally shove the prober so far up your demonic posterior that you'll be burping alien probes for a millennium." Kevin, the demonic trucker who traded human anuses for space credits, felt something he hadn't felt for eons, genuine pants-wetting fear. He stammered, his eyes darted wildly. This woman wasn't just powerful, she was annoying. She was too much. Her sheer, unadulterated sass was more potent than any hellfire. "Now hit the road, Kevin," Lizzo commanded, her voice crackling with finality. "And take your stinky truck and your pervy space friends with you. This ain't your kind of booty." With a whimper that sounded suspiciously like a deflating tire, Kevin stumbled backward. The rainbow force field shimmered, then dissipated. He scrambled into the prober, fumbling with the ignition. The engine coughed, then roared, but it sounded distinctly less menacing. The prober sped off, leaving a pathetic trail of ordinary diesel fumes. Kevin could have sworn he heard Lizzo's booming cackle echo behind him, a sound that would haunt his demonic nightmares forever. From that day on, truckers at Butte Muffin slept a little sounder. The faint smell of sulfur and old pennies was gone, replaced by the comforting scent of fried onions and Lizzo's signature perfume. And out in the vast, dark stretches of galaxy, the glutinous Sevians were left wondering why their supply of human orifices had suddenly dried up. Lizzo, the lot lizard queen, had put an end to it, one perfectly manicured, glittery finger at a time. Lizzo can do it. I cannot believe this is real. Wow. I gotta bring Lizzo to life. I did something different. She had dreadlocks in this one, blue dreadlocks. Thank you guys. This was an awesome night. Wow. Yeah, I definitely miss Victor. Definitely miss Victor. Late night celebration at the Waffle House. Get a different router then, Mr. M. Wolf? Let me see if I can get Tigger to come in. Hang on. Boy. Boy. Come on, buddy. Come on, bud. He's not coming. He's not coming. Buddy. I got nothing to shake. Hang on, I'll shake this. I'll shake this box of erasers. Boy. No, I don't hear his fat ass running down the hall. Boy! That usually gets him. Conscious Wanderer, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, exactly, 5 rings. Exactly. No, I can't call my dad at 3 a.m. Not at 3 a.m. Oh, wow. Holy shit. My dad would be like, oh, farting all over his old ass. When I was about 11, maybe 12, my family and I moved out to the middle of some abandoned strip mines in rural Alabama. It was awesome, going swimming in quarries, lots of abandoned equipment, and cliff faces to climb, caves, and miles of trails, abandoned dirt roads used by the mines to explore. The trade-off was there was a lot of venomous snakes, and at night it was dark. No streetlights, just the occasional porch light maybe every mile or so on the main road. One day in particular, my friend P and I were out on one of these dirt roads that went off to the side of the main mine road. We hadn't been down that road before, but it was like 10 a.m. on a bright summer day, so we figured why not? We had gone maybe a mile down that road and came to a left-hand turn. Beside that left-hand turn and alongside the road we were walking on was a small lake. We walked up to the lake and were watching small frogs and a turtle swim around. When I caught movement across the lake, I saw a man walking away from us, heading up a hill. I poked P and pointed. Who's that? Why is he out here? We were miles into the mines, no people anywhere, no houses either. We both stood up, and as soon as we got onto our feet, he stopped walking. In a split second, he spun around and came running in our direction. We bolted, ran like Gump. I looked back, and he was running faster than any human I had ever seen. He actually looked like he was running on all fours at one point and covering a distance. He had run down the hill and around the lake to get close to us, which was easily 300 yards. Mr. Wolf, thank you so much. In seconds, P grabbed me and we jumped off into the road into a ditch behind some 40 feet from us, spinning around in the road, making this god-awful grunting sound. And weirdly enough, I swear he had what looked like a chicken in his hand. He was wearing what looked like just destroyed, beat-up clothes, overalls, and maybe dirty old boots. He had what I can only describe as a Cro-Magnon-looking brow, huge. My memory might not be super accurate given how long it's been, but it seemed like his forehead stuck out a good 4 inches over his eyes. He was the scariest thing I had ever seen. He spun around in that road and started running back the way he came. We stayed right there in that ditch for almost an hour, too afraid to move, listening, watching, just in case he was hiding and waiting. We crawled along the roadside all the way back to the main road from where we had walked, but stayed in that tree line until we saw the main paved road and then ran for all the way back home. We got home and told our dads, and both of our dads and P's older brother loaded up and went looking for this thing. We never found him. All these years later, it still haunts me. And oh yeah, my girlfriend recently took me out to her grandmother's house to meet and spend some time with her family. And where does dear old Granny live? Right on the edge of that same strip mine. I told her the story and she looked real serious and said, y'all lucky. That's kind of bad things that happens in those mines. So yeah, every visit to Grandma means Glock and 12 gauge ride with us. Anyway, that's my creepy experience with a feral human. Wow. Cannot believe it. Cannot believe it. Gotta look at it again. Wow. Thank you, Mr. M. Wolf. Appreciate that. I really do. Not pondering to you. Thank you. Thank you, George. I really appreciate that. I really, really do. I honestly, I couldn't be any more happier. I like this. I didn't think we were gonna get it. I didn't think I'd get it until tomorrow sometime. But this made it so worth it. Just fucking wow. Sonia, I'm sorry for your loss. It's going right there. It's gonna go right here. Right here. Right there. Wow. I wonder if they emailed me yet. No, just my live. I wonder if I'll get a hang on a second. Let me get out of here real quick. Here. Dude, I cannot believe it. Wow. It's gonna be right there. I'm gonna sleep with that son of a bitchin' thing though. No, I'll probably bring it in my car with me and ride around with it like it's my girlfriend. I'll be like, "What's up, baby? You want to get a milkshake?" I need to get a life. Holy shit. All right, we'll do these 2 last experiences and then we'll end the live stream because I got to get some sleep tonight. Wow, I'm probably not going to be able to sleep. I'm going to go beat up Isabel when I get up. I'm going to wake her up. I'm going to be like, boom, what's up, buddy? Put her in the sleeping hold. She, get off me, daddy. Fucking RKO her off the top rope. I needed validation that I'm not insane. I've never really had a paranormal experience, but I cannot explain this. I'm in college, and me and some other 7 people from my school went on this backpacking trip. And we had 2 experienced leaders. We drove from Zaleski State Forest, which is in the Appalachia region of Ohio. It was early April, and this was cold. Everything was still dead from winter. After hiking miles into the forest, we set up camp at a backpacking campsite. And there were a couple other groups of people as well. A few of them were friendly, older couples, and then 2 college-aged girls. Everyone was pretty spread out from each other. We set up our camp further away from everyone else. I've always been able to sense energies from places, and the energy was not great. It was almost spooky, intense, and we formed kind of a cluster in this site, with my tent being in the back, so no one was behind me. Our cluster was also right next to the forest because this backpacking site was like a big clearing off square in the middle of the trees. Fast forward, I'm dead asleep at 2 a.m. and I wake up to leaves crunching right beside my tent. I hear the footsteps walking in circles around my tent. They had a sort of heaviness to them that couldn't be a deer or a dog. Also, it sounded like it was bipedal. I cannot make this up. This creature was circling my tent for long periods of time, slowly creeping up to the sides of my tent, and then just stopping for periods of time, and then would move on the walking around the rest of the tent cluster. I could hear a human-like breathing from a mouth when it was close to my tent, like a light sort of heaving. I was shaking, too scared to unzip my tent and investigate. I kid you not, this occurred for hours and seemed like I was the only one awake. Out of nowhere, I see an illuminated light shape from my tent. Although I couldn't tell what it was from inside the tent because it was all zipped up, it was like a warm glow. I might have assumed it was someone's flashlight, except no one was moving. I was paralyzed in fear. I simply couldn't believe it was an animal. At some point, I fell asleep due to sheer exhaustion, but I could hear the heavy footsteps circling until I did. In the morning, I questioned my fellow campers about it, and my leader admitted she had heard the footsteps and noises as well, admitting it was bizarre, and she would have to investigate. She would have investigated had she been not so groggy. One of the boys in the group said he also noticed the light that came on, but thought it was someone else. Not a single person in this group went up to go to the bathroom or turn on a light that night. I've heard things about the Appalachia regions being creepy and bizarre, and now I definitely believe it. Thank you, Stacy Face. Light was a portal. That's what I was thinking. You know, I remember when I had read that story on this channel, like 5 years ago, and I didn't put it together for a while about it being a portal. And then one night I found it in a folder that I have, and I was like, I wonder if that is a portal. And I think people don't realize how many times we are near some sort of opening to a different dimension. Scientists freely talk about their portals and dimensions right next to ours, and that's scientists. That aren't people like, us weirdos. It's too hard to not imagine, and it's weird that we still are looked at like we're weirdos. I got to do a weirdo thing and look at it again. Holy shit. I'm like a kid on Christmas right now. Oh, I lost a sub. I went down to 100,005. Wife died of pancreatic cancer. Oh, John boy. Man, I am so sorry about that. That's a terrible loss. Gosh. Wow. Yeah, I'll definitely do the unboxing at Alive. The unboxing will be alive. It's kind of hard not to imagine that people do, it's like, how do people not believe in this stuff? Yet we are looked at like we are the strange ones. Yet if you think about the Philadelphia experiment, like that happened 70 years ago, almost 80 years ago now. And it talks about how people were fused to metal walls in a ship, body parts hanging out, openings in like weird openings to a different dimension, yet people deny it. It makes no sense to me how people can deny this stuff, Where's Kurt Reed? I don't see Kurt Reed. How come I don't see Kurt Reed? I don't see him. I just shared Kurt Reed's experience yesterday or 2 days ago in an upload. But different. There he is. What's up, Kurt? How are you? I've got to send you. Did you hear the other day when I did the upload about, I shared your experience, Kurt? DB back. All right. This is the last experience, and then I'm going to hit the hay. And I want to thank you guys for spending the night with me. This is fucking amazing. Like, I couldn't imagine hitting this by myself. Like, you guys got to see me smile and shit. This event happened to me and a friend from out of town that I had invited to go hunting one afternoon. This location was in southern Louisiana in an area with thick woods and a lot of palmetto, up to 6 foot in height in some places. And the water we had to walk in to get to my deer stands were up to our waist at times. So it was slow moving in the mile we had to walk to our deer stands, and my friend was not used to this tough terrain, but he kept up. And when I got to the first stand, which is 15 feet off the ground with a ladder to climb up, and once he was up, I told him I would be back to pick him up in about a half an hour after dark, since I was a half mile past him. We had a half moon that was reflecting off the water, allowing us to hunt a few minutes longer. And when it became too dark to see, I climbed down from my deer stand with my rifle on my shoulder and start walking toward my friend to pick him up. And when I'm almost to his stand, I shine my light up, and he was not in his stand. So I shine my light on the ground at the bottom of the stand, and there he was leaning back against the tree stand was on. And what was odd, he couldn't look my way even after calling his name. So I walk up to him within a couple of feet and ask if he's ready to go. And that's when he finally turned his head and looked toward me. And what I saw in his face scared me so bad that I took my rifle off my shoulder, putting it between me and him. His eyes rolled back in his head. His mouth was wide open, just standing there looking at me, not saying a word, and was not answering me when I asked him what was wrong. So there I was, miles back in the woods, with solid palmettos up to my waist in water, with a good friend looking at me as if he is possessed by something. And yes, at this point I was scared. So I finally slapped him in his face and he snapped back out of it. I asked him if he was okay. His only words were, "Let's get out of here now." So with me not knowing what the fuck was going on, I made him walk in front of me the whole way back to the truck, and we got in and left without saying a word. I asked him what happened in the woods, why he did look so shocked or possessed, and that's when he started crying, telling me how he was sitting there in his stand when he heard something coming through the water, moving the palmettos as it was walking, and when it got close enough to see what it was, he said it was a man that looked like he had been skinned alive. He had no skin on him at all. And he said he was so scared that after this thing had passed, he climbed down and hid under the stand against the tree so it would not see him if it came back. He was in shock when I got to him. That's why he looked the way he did. He was so shook up and crying that I made him pull over for me to drive. Well, a week went by, and I was talking to my little cousin who had gone on tour at a near Indian memorial, and they were explaining how this Indian tribe would skin men of their of the tribe alive and then turn them loose into the woods when they had committed a serious crime against the tribe. My friend who had witnessed this skin man a week earlier wasn't from around this area. He had no way of knowing this. So what did he see that put him in such shock? Was it a ghost of one of these Native Americans that had been skinned alive years ago? I don't know. I just know the shape of my friend and the shape he was in when I got to him that night in the woods. Something I will never forget. I'm sorry for the hard typing. I'm doing this on my phone. Anyway, thanks. All right. Oh. Can you freaking, wow. Huh. Guys, thank you for spending the night with me. I had such a good time. 3.5-hour live stream. I think this is our longest one. Alexandra, how are you? Jenny, have a good night. Samara Osborne, have a good night. SDL. Later, Hellhounds. There, Wolf. How are you there, Wolf? Enormous. Enormous. Good night, Daniel. Thank you for hanging out with me. Guys, I cannot believe that we did it. Wow. So, thank you. All right. I'll see you guys next Saturday, but uploads same time every day. I love y'all. Thank you. I could not ask for a better group to spend this night with. So, DB Mac, have a good night. Jan, thank you. Sonny, the Wandering Gypsy. And in classic Ozzy, I love you all. Have a good night, guys. Thank you.